What's going on, guys? It's your boy Old Scrubby here, back again with another video, and welcome to the 12 Days of Old Scrubs. That's right, the annual Christmas tradition where I compile all the videos from the year into a super long form for you guys to enjoy. This is the second annual one, so if you're looking forward to it, please be sure to press the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you're new, or you'll get cold for Christmas. And if you really want to be a swag lord, check out the haha sweater in the description. And without further ado, let's get into the first episode of the 12 Days of Scrubs.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I got a story time sent in to me by a subscriber about a teacher destroying a kid who was acting out in class. Not just any kid acting out in class, but a spoiled kid. So, you know, the algorithm hopefully will enjoy it. You know, I'm trying to get the views back up. And hopefully you guys will enjoy it too. That's more important than the algorithm. Sorry, Susan, please don't hate me. Anyways, you would assume that a spoiled student would kind of realize that you can be a spoiled student. It's not that big of a deal as long as you don't take your spoiledness out on the teacher. But I guess this dude just never got the memo. Before we get too into it, though, I'm just gonna go everyone that you need to know for the story. So, the first person you gotta know is the spoiled dude, and I'm gonna name him Braxton for the purpose of this story, just because that's a relatively spoiled name. You know, I'm not saying that every single Braxton is spoiled, but I would say, like, a majority of Braxtons are. It's just one of those names. It's like Brad. I'm sure there's some nice Brads out there, but Braxtons, I say you got a 70-30 ratio. 70% are gonna be spoiled, 30% are gonna be cool. If you're watching this, I guess you're in the 30%, congratulations. Anyways, this particular Braxton was a super douche Maximus level of spoiled. Basically just loved to tell everyone that the school that they were attending was named after his grandpa, and his grandpa had a jet and, you know, just had all this money and cars, and that made him better than everybody. And would literally flex the fact that his parents were getting like a new car every year, and somehow that made him better than everyone in the school. And I just don't understand this dude's flexing scale, because like if your grandpa has a jet, why are you flexing your parents' new car, you know? I'm just saying, jet definitely beats car. And on top of that, I don't feel like the most financially responsible people are buying a new car every year. Little life wisdom I'm gonna drop on you guys: always buy a car that's like used. If you really want something super new still, go a year or two old. Cars are a depreciating asset, alright? That means they lose value quickly. If you look at the difference between like a BMW that's brand new and a BMW that's 1 year old, you will have your mind blown. So I think flexing the fact that you always buy a new car tells me that you're dumb, but at the same time I don't have a jet, so maybe I should shut up. As Braxton would refer to me, I'm just one of the poors who has to wait in line at TSA security with the rest of the normal people, while he and the fam smuggle cocaine on the PJ, baby. Let's go. I'm not accusing Braxton of drug smuggling. That was a joke. Sorry, DEA agents. Anyways, the dude was just always flexing, thought he was better than everybody because the family had money, and he had the same 6 hour as this subscriber. And the 6 hour was the last class of the day, and it just so happened that it was a math class with a very meek teacher. A little bit of a shy guy, if you will. The type of individual who probably shouldn't be a teacher, like he just didn't have the right personality for it. He was the definition of a pushover. The students would just walk all over him. He couldn't control the class, let alone teach it very well. And honestly, the person who sent this to me said they felt bad for the guy because he just had the wrong personality type for teaching. I feel like being a teacher is a lot like being a prison guard, and I happen to be an expert on being a prison guard because I watched an episode of Dirty Jobs about it. I don't know if there was actually a Dirty Jobs episode about being a prison guard, but if there was, that's a weird episode. Either way, I just feel like, you know, being a prison guard, being a teacher, if you show any weakness, I'm guessing the inmates or the students are just gonna eat you alive. And this dude was showing a lot of weakness and didn't really have control on the class, so he was being eaten alive. And we're gonna name him Mr. Remington for the purpose of the story. And Braxton and Mr. Remington, these guys did not get along. They clashed. If you put two trains on the same track driving towards each other, when they eventually reached each other, they would crash. That's kind of what their personality personalities were like. Braxton didn't really respect anyone already, and you could just kind of walk all over Mr. Remington and he wouldn't do anything about it, so that's what happened quite often. In fact, Braxton respected the dude so little that he would just get up in the middle of his class while he was teaching and just walk out without permission. And the entire time the teacher would be like, hey, what are you doing? Come back. You can't leave class. And he would just ignore him like he didn't exist, as if the teacher was straight up on ghost mode, and just walk out of the class. And he had started to do this like a couple months into the school year, and he had done it probably 3-4 days in a row, and the teacher didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, he had tried, but it had been a pretty pathetic attempt of like, hey, don't leave. Which, listen, man, all right, the first time someone gets up and starts walking out of class, you say, hey, you don't leave, and you don't expect them to leave. I get it. If it's like the third day in the row with the dude walking out of class, clearly he doesn't care too much if you say, hey man, don't leave. It's probably time for another maneuver. But like I said, the teacher didn't really understand how to keep control of the class, so he just got like progressively more annoyed with the fact that Braxton would leave class and was disrespecting him. And so, obviously, if he had been doing it for a few days, Friday was approaching, and it was a Friday on this particular day when everybody came in and sat down to get ready for the math class. And the teacher, instead of doing his normal, just jumping into the lesson, passing out the worksheet, passing out, whatever, same thing. He decides to talk to the class for a little bit, and he starts to say that even though they might not like the way that he teaches this class, he was still the teacher and they had to respect him. And so there would be no more walking out of class early. It didn't matter if they had a reason or not. It just wasn't going to be allowed. And the entire class is kind of like, okay, thank you for telling me this. I've never left class early. It's very obvious this is directed squarely at Braxton, but, you know, teachers just really beyond that sometimes. Like, if you got problems with one student, pull them aside and say, I don't like the way you've been doing this. Lecturing the entire class just makes them feel united against the enemy. And you don't want that, especially if you're already having trouble controlling the class, man. Anyways, Braxton, not the sharpest tool in the shed, is still somehow sharp enough to figure out that he's talking about him. And so he kind of says something along the lines of like, well, if you weren't so boring of a teacher, I wouldn't feel like leaving your class early all the time. And obviously that gets a little bit of a laugh out of some of the students because, you know, you just don't expect someone to say that. And the teacher's kind of caught off guard a little bit, and Braxton's being egged on by people laughing, but Braxton isn't like a comedian. He had just kind of said something mean that happened to be funny, so he decides to up the ante even more and says something like, you're such a pathetic person, I'm surprised you can keep control of any of your classes. And no one really laughs at that one, because that one crossed the line of like funny mean to just kind of like, I don't know, man. Listen, like I said, the subscribers said that he felt bad for the dude. Calling him pathetic was just kind of out of pocket, and on top of it, he still is a teacher. Like, listen, I understand on this story time channel we talk about crazy teachers from time to time. For the most part, 99.9% of teachers are just hardworking people doing their job who just want to like teach you the subject they're teaching you and go home to their family. You don't really need to be making their job any harder. Like, it's just completely unnecessary 99.9% of the time. But Braxton is now kind of on a roll, so he's like, yeah, what are you gonna do, man? And the teacher, bless his soul, starts trying to like argue back with him and says, you can't talk to me like that. And Braxton says something along the lines of, what do you mean I can't talk to you like that? I'm pretty sure this school is named after my grandpa, so I'll talk to anybody however I please. And finally, the teacher says something back along the lines of like, just because your grandpa was a great man doesn't mean that you're one. And everyone kind of laughs back, not because it's an incredible insult, it's not the greatest ever, but because he had never like defended himself before, so people are just, oh, he said something back. And at that point, Braxton decides to be Mr. Tough Guy and try to leave the class, as he has earlier for like the last few days. But this time, Mr. Remington is not vibing with it, and he goes and he stands in between him and the door. And Braxton starts yelling at him. He's like, get out of my way, like, let me out of here. And the teacher says, no, you're not gonna leave the class, go sit down. And Braxton starts going off about how, you know, if he doesn't move, he's really gonna regret it. He hasn't even seen his mean insults yet. Which, listen, I don't think is that scary of an insult. Like, imagine someone physically blocking your way, and you just start yelling at them, I'm gonna really insult you unless you move. Like, okay, man, they're physically blocking you. You can sit there and yell at them all day. You're still in the classroom. And obviously, the teacher doesn't move at this point. And he says, listen, I've been cool with you all week. I've just been saying something. I can't keep letting you leave. At some point, you have to learn to respect me as a teacher, so you can't leave. And, you know, you think that would be relatively fair. I haven't said anything about you leaving, but like obviously I have to put my foot down. But Braxton is not having any of it, and he decides to start going off at the teacher, saying that he's poor, he'll never be able to afford a new car like his parents, which has to be one of the dumbest insults ever. Haha, I bet you'll never be able to afford a new car like my parents. It's like, alright man, cool. It's just not that great, especially because we all know teachers aren't rolling in the money. Like, that's not even that big of an insult. Obviously, when the guy took the teaching job, he was kind of accepting the fact that he was never gonna drive a Ferrari. I don't think he's delusional. Anyways, Mr. Remington is prepared for a response this time, and when he's going off about how he'll never be able to afford a new car like his parents, he cuts off Braxton and says, you know what, I'm perfectly okay with never being able to afford a new car if it means my kid doesn't end up anything like you. And obviously, because of the fact that he had been so shy before, the entire class just starts doing the over-the-top reaction you only get in the school classroom setting. Oh my god, you got destroyed. Oh, yo, Mr. Remington just dropped a nuke on this dude. He called in the 25 kill streak. I swear he learned to spawn noob tube, got 11 kills off rip, called in the chopper gunner. My goodness, this dude is insane. 27 KD. I'm not saying I witnessed it, but I heard from a dude who heard from a dude who heard from his uncle's cat's lizard that Mr. Remington can walk on water with how sick his insults are. And Braxton is obviously embarrassed because, it's one thing to get dumpstered on by a teacher, period. It's another thing to get dumpstered on by the teacher that's known for being super chill and shy. And he's not having any of it, so he's like, starts to imply that it was a bigger insult than it was. He starts being like, are you saying that my parents shouldn't love me? And obviously that's not what he's saying, and Mr. Remington doesn't really get caught too off guard by that, and he says, no, that's obviously not what I was saying. I'm just saying you're a handful in class. I can't imagine having to parent you. It would be exhausting. I already have enough trouble trying to control kids like you for an hour a day. Being your parent would be one of the most exhausting experiences ever. And obviously everybody laughs again, and at this point Braxton is turning red because the crowd's not on his side anymore, Even a lot of people in this class aren't the biggest fans of Braxton because they've been repeatedly called poor and stupid, and they're so much dumber than him, they'll never own a new car, which he's bizarrely obsessed with. He's probably like the biggest Fast and Furious fan ever. When there's a new Fast and Furious coming out and you're kind of like, wow, another one? How many of these are they going to make? 30 of them? It's because Braxton literally goes to the theater day in and day out, buying out theaters to make sure it becomes like one of the top grossing movies of all time. The amount of money that this dude has probably spent on Fast and Furious merch and movie tickets alone has bought Vin Diesel many cars. Regardless, the only problem with being that mean to everyone in your class is when the teacher starts to roast you, they're gonna love it even more. No one's gonna be like, oh man, you're being so mean, oh. So Braxton finally decides to go push past him, and the teacher doesn't move, and he's like, move out of the way of the door now, and he puts his hands on the teacher. And at that point, Mr. Remington, does this swim move type of thing, gets his arm off of him and says, you go sit down right now. You're not leaving the class. And if you don't go sit down, then I'm about to call the office and tell them that you put your hands on a teacher. And guess what? They're gonna have to punish you because, as you love to remind everyone, this school's named after your grandpa. Can't have the kid the school's named after being a moron hitting teachers now, can you? And at that point, Braxton literally stops in his tracks, bro, is frozen. I don't know if it was with fear or if he was trying the Jurassic Park tactic of when a T-Rex gets mad, you just stay still and hope their sight's based on movement. I don't know if it was just because no one had ever heard this dude yell before that they were all flabbergasted by it, but he literally stops and then turns around and goes and sits down. And at that point, the teacher's standing by the door looking victorious. It's probably the biggest W this guy's ever taken, And so Braxton sits down and the teacher walks back up to the front of the class and he's like, all right, now that we've got that settled, does everyone understand that they're not leaving the class anymore? And everyone is like, yeah, we understand, obviously not wanting to be on the receiving end of whatever had just happened. And the class goes back to normal for about 10 minutes, And you would think 10 minutes is enough time for Braxton to cool off a little bit, maybe not be as angry. But no, the entire 10 minutes that everything had chilled out, this dude is plotting his revenge. He's like an angry person that just doesn't want to leave your life. Imagine you wrong someone in the 3rd grade, Oh, you cheated during tag on the playground. And they spent the next like 15 years planning revenge to mess up your Starbucks order. And then when they mess it up, they're like, ha, do you remember me? And you're like, no, I don't, because I don't remember everyone I played tag with in 3rd grade. Like, that is how petty this dude was being for 10 minutes, just sitting there stewing about it, deciding how he was going to ruin the class, make this guy look like an idiot. And I'm not saying that there's like rules to arguing, right? No one has ever written down, here's how you argue. But I feel like the rules of engagement implied are just kind of, if you're gonna bring up something randomly long after it's been settled and everybody thinks it's done, you better have a pretty good reason. Like, if you're going to be sitting there stewing for 10 minutes all pissed off and then restart the argument, you better have a good argument, you know? Like I said, I don't think that's written down, but I'm pretty sure we all agree. If you just got your butt kicked in an argument and then 15 minutes later go, another thing, Chuck E. Cheese does have good pizza, like, you just look even dumber, you know? If anything, just let it go. If you don't have a solid argument and it's been 10 minutes, even if you've been sitting there pissed off, let it go. Because if you come out of like a long halftime intermission thing, you know, they raised the curtains, told everyone to go get some water, it's halftime or whatever, and then you come back into the argument with some weak stuff, everyone's gonna think even less of you. Anyways, after thinking for 10 minutes, he just randomly blurts out, at least my shoes match. And obviously everybody's really confused, so they all are looking at him, and even the teacher's kind of confused on what he means, so he's like, what? And he said earlier when we were going back and forth, you know, you may have like said some insults, but at least my shoes match. And the teacher, confused at the front of the class, looks down and has no clue what this guy's talking about because his shoes do match. And he's like, huh? And then he just blurts out again, at least my shoes match. And at this point, one of the other students who's listening to this goes, bro, what are you talking about? Because, like, it just makes no sense. Imagine, man, you're just sitting in silence in the class. No one's really talking. At least my shoes match. And then, like, the teacher's shoes do match. And you're just confused as to why he would even say it then. And so the teacher points out again, like, okay, I hear you, but my shoes do match. And he says, no, they match each other, but they don't match your outfit. And he goes, you really sat there for 10 minutes to think of the fact that my shoes don't match my outfit? And instead of realizing that he's being made fun of, Braxton goes, yeah, I did. And I think at this point, Mr. Remington had gotten his confidence back. You know, sure, he had been beaten down by all the students. Never show weakness to the prisoners. But now he's feeling it. He knows he can, like, roast Braxton and people will laugh. So he says, like, Braxton, do you think you're some sort of fashion expert? And he says, yes, I think I am. And the teacher just asks him, okay, then why did it take you 10 minutes to realize that my shoes don't match my outfit? If you're an expert, wouldn't that have been a little quicker? And obviously everybody laughs a little bit. And so he says, like, listen, man, if you're gonna sit there and try to think of an insult for 10 minutes, it better be better than my shoes don't match my outfit, because I can live with that. I can always change my shoes. I called you annoying. There's not much you can do about that one. Which, listen, is definitely a little bit mean, starting to cross the line of what a teacher should say, but that being said, it's also funny. I mean, listen, this dude's been talking crap to this guy all year, leaving his classroom. I feel like he's allowed to roast him a little bit. And it's a fair point, you know? I can always change my shoes. I can always learn more about fashion. You can't be less annoying if that's just who you are. Anyways, at this point, Braxton's been embarrassed twice. The entire class is still laughing at him, so he goes to leave again. But Mr. Remington, riding the confidence, gets between him and the door and says, no, you're not leaving. And Braxton just, like, stops, drops his backpack, and everybody thinks that he's about to fight the teacher, right? You know, that's the move. You challenge somebody, drop the backpack, all right, the fists are about to start flying. But instead, he just kind of, like, takes a step back, and I don't know if he had been playing too much Skyrim lately. I don't know if he thought this was like a super intimidation move, but he kind of slams his foot down and screams at the same time. So he's like leaning into the scream. Little bit of a foosra, blah, 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 blah. But instead of sending the teacher flying through the door, he just goes, move out of my way. And honestly, I don't know what he expected because he had his eyes closed when he was yelling, but when he opened his eyes, you know, the teacher's still standing there because, believe it or not, he did not have the magical ability to, like, scream something at somebody and have them just instantly listen. That'd be a weird mutant power. Like, no one listens to anything you say, but if you yell it at a loud enough decibel, they have to obey your command. Put the money in the cash register. Anyways, he doubles down and says, I said move out of my way. And Mr. Remington just replies, and I say no. And at that point, they just kind of have a little bit of a staring contest. I don't know if it was just like whoever blinked first was gonna win or what, but they're just kind of standing there staring at each other. And Braxton finally decides to like back down and go back to his seat. But he's not gonna admit that he's backing down, so he says something along the lines of like, whatever, there's only 6 minutes of class left anyways. It's not worth dealing with you, or something like that. And he goes back and sits down. And listen, you can take that copium all you want, whatever. There's only 6 minutes left of class. You've tried to flee twice, and twice you've been turned back, man. You're not doing too hot. I just would really love to know what went through his mind when he decided to go, like, yell at him. All right, that's it. I'm leaving. I'm being embarrassed enough in this class. I don't have to sit there and take it. He's blocked the door. I know, I'm just going to yell. Obviously, he'll have to move, and then everyone who's watching this situation will think it's way less cringe. Even if he did move, bro, I still feel like the whole foot slam scream thing was pretty cringe. It reminded me more of somebody that was like trying to get a golden ticket Willy Wonka moment rather than someone that was actually making a good argument. I want the chocolate factory. All right, whatever, go eat some, like, floating bubblegum. That entire factory is just a death trap, bro. So many things just floating around that can just, like, yeet somebody. But he goes back to his seat and sits down, and miraculously, for the next 6 minutes, somehow keeps his mouth shut. I'm saying miraculously because the dude obviously didn't learn his lesson the first time, so who would have thought the second time did the trick? I'm pretty sure the saying goes third time's the charm. Unfortunately, the class only had 6 minutes left. Maybe if we gave him 20 minutes this time to think of an insult, he would have come up with something such as, your shirt is the wrong size, and or, I don't like the way those glasses frame your face. With enough time to think, the guy truly could have insulted him in ways unimaginable to us mere mortals who have to stand in line at the TSA. Either way, man, I'm not gonna lie, all right? I don't fly very often. I would rather fly on a normal jet and stand in security lines than be this cringe. If this is what it means, if having a jet means I'm as cringe as Braxton, I'm okay. And you know what? Maybe that's a little bit of coping from me, but let me have it. None of us are getting a jet, who cares? The bell rang, everybody leaves, and within like the next 27 minutes, it was the last class of the day, everybody had kind of heard about it. Everyone in the class had been like, dude, Braxton got roasted. Because it wasn't just this class he had been acting super entitled in, nay. He was kind of known around the school for being a little bit obnoxious. Like, he was kind of known for rubbing it in that the school was named after his grandpa to everyone, the new car obsession, saying how much richer he was than everybody. So when everybody started hearing that, like, he had embarrassed himself and looked a fool messing with the teacher, people were kind of talking about it and laughing about it. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, all right? That being said, it's just going to happen. If a teacher just eviscerates somebody like that, chances are people are going to talk about it. To combat people knowing about this, you would think you've kind of got two options. You can either just lean into it and be like, yeah, I got destroyed, wasn't my best moment, haha. Or you can go the route I wouldn't recommend and just start trying to fight everybody that brings it up. And that's the route that Braxton ended up going down. Anytime somebody would mention it or like quote something the teacher said, he would just start getting into screaming matches with them, and he wasn't very good at insulting other people either. And for whatever reason, he would always do like his stomp scream. So the next few weeks there was a lot of yelling, and after that everyone kind of got over it and just dropped it. That's the way the ball bounces. You're only the hot topic for like a week or two. People would mention it every now and then, but obviously as time goes on, people just cared less and less. And beyond that, after that school year, no one really mentioned it again. It wasn't like something that stuck with him forever. I don't think he necessarily deserved that. Everybody's got a bad moment. I'm sure I've looked stupid in an argument before. But yeah, you can't be surprised when you're running around calling everybody poor that for the next few weeks after that, you got a little bit of crap for it. As for the teacher, everybody else kind of respected him more after that. Not a crap ton, you know, they still didn't do their homework, but they weren't as obnoxious about like interrupting the class, which I think goes to show that teaching and being a prison guard is basically the same thing. You just can't show weakness. Once you stand up to them, they'll respect you. I bet you someone in the comments is like, actually, being a prison guard is not like being a teacher. It's called a joke, guys, all right? Obviously, being a prison guard is different than being a teacher. Concepts are kind of the same, though. I'm just saying. A bunch of people in a place they don't want to be, and you're in charge of them for like an 8-hour shift. Either way, guys, I think that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I would really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. In fact, I'm gonna count to 3, go press it. Otherwise, no joke, no scam whatsoever. You will be transported to zombies with no way out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, if you didn't press the like button, have fun in zombies. Good luck with that one. Other than that, if you could go ahead and comment the words "your shoes don't match," I would really appreciate it down below. It just helps the video do better. It helps me hit recommended, which, you know, I enjoy. Other than that, if you like listening to the story times, you can listen to them on Spotify. I upload the audio version. A link to it's down in the description. So if you ever want to listen offline without gameplay, whatever floats your boat, that's an option. And I did go ahead and make a new playlist containing my favorite stories from this year so far. You can find that in the description as well. Feel free to check it out if you need something to listen to while you're doing your homework or gaming. And yeah, on that note, that'll really do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrubby here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day sitting inside your rooms, because I know I am. I never thought the government would endorse me being lazy, but here we are. And if you are having a great day, then be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam. You will run out of SpaghettiOs in day 6 of the 30-day lockdown. Yeah, that's right, you little kid. You thought it was fun having to survive on nothing but SpaghettiOs. Just wait till you have to resort to eating cat food because you didn't press the like button. It's really simple. Pressing the like button makes you better in the long run. Real talk though, guys, what's going on? It's been an eventful week, an eventful little space of time. In the event of the last month, my channel has somehow died a little bit more. We've put the entire world on lockdown, but the thing that hasn't changed is that people really hate entitled kids being jerks. And I have a story today about a kid that definitely deserved everything that came to him. I've said it a couple times now. I went to a private school where some kids' parents definitely had some bands. I did go to a school with a couple of like famous people's kids. I'm not gonna name names or anything because I just don't do that on this channel. But there were some people in my school that had a ton of money. And, you know, I grew up pretty normal. Like, my parents definitely aren't sending money to the Caymans every month or at all. I think the only money my parents have ever sent to the Caymans is when we were on a cruise one time. But like, other than that, you know, I lived a pretty normal childhood. But a lot of these kids had grown up around nothing but Gucci belts and like Louis Vuitton rattles. When they were a baby, their parents refused to use throwawayable diapers because that was a poor person thing and had liquid gold cast into their body every time they soiled themselves. And I learned from a pretty young age that certain people are just gonna flex stuff because they're deeply insecure. And something else that I learned at a young age is kids flexing is one of the lamest things ever, because 9 times out of 10 it's just definitely not your money. Like, when you're in middle school, there is literally no way that you bought yourself a new iPhone. Mommy and daddy definitely did it for you. And at least in middle school you could be like, oh, they're immature and dumb. But by the time you're in high school, you should basically know that flexing what mommy and daddy get in their bank account every month definitely does not make you look cool. It makes you look like you belong on a certain canoe made out of a feminine hygiene product, a douche canoe. And on the douche canoe, there was a bunch of people at my school. This hypothetical douche canoe full of people that flexed their parents' money. There was tons of people that did this. Like, the specific kid that the story is about was not the only person that would flex their parents' money way too much. But even in a school full of people doing it, this kid was known for being extremely obnoxious about the fact that his dad was some, like, crazy successful lawyer with a ton of money. He was constantly posting stuff on Snapchat, like him holding a bunch of money, and would make the caption, "Sorry, I don't speak poor people," or like, "Ugh, poor people are so disgusting." I'll never forget one time he posted on Snapchat a picture of a homeless dude on the side of the road with, "Must suck to be so untalented." Like, was just really not a nice guy, constantly flexing his wealth. And I get it, man. Screw poor people because my dad is rich. But I really don't understand flexing on Snapchat, because the only people that you have added on Snapchat are people that you know, and when you go to a school full of rich kids, being rich is no longer that dope. Like, it's just another trait of any kid, like having, I don't know, eyes or arms. So if you don't have eyes and arms, that's when I guess you would be considered abnormal in this situation. Some kid out there is like, dang, I guess I really will just never be normal in Ryan's eyes. Real talk, this kid was always a giant douche about the fact that his parents had money. He would make fun of homeless people. He would belittle other people. I'm not even kidding you. He would walk around the hallways and call people by their parents' salaries. He would find out what job your parents did. Usually he would like ask, or during a career day thing or whatever, he would find out. And then he would go Google what their average salary was and would walk around and like call people by their parents' salaries, which might be the douchiest thing ever. It's right up there with wearing a polo shirt with the collar popped, constantly calling everybody dog despite your obviously suburban origins, and most importantly, listening to nothing but Macklemore and Russ. So King Douchebag continues his tirade of just being an unlikable person. So I've set the scene for why this kid low-key deserved what came to him. I don't want you guys to think that I'm just a fan of somebody getting, like, roasted in front of the school for no reason. Yeah, this poor kid started crying in front of everyone, and I said, "What are you, Timmy, you little bitch? Wipe your tears off and get back out there and go again. Nobody's gonna take care of you, Tim." Like, nah, I don't like stuff like that, but every now and then somebody gets their comeuppance, and that's the greatest thing of all. So this kid is obviously a giant rich douche canoe, and we got a new girl at school, and we would get new kids like relatively often because whenever anyone would come to town, they would put their kid at our school. I don't know why. We were just like one of those schools that would get a lot of new kids. So this new girl comes to town, and I'm not gonna lie, on a scale of 1 to 10, she was a solid 10. She still is. I follow her on Instagram to this day, and I can firmly say that she is in fact a cutie pie. Whatever, this new girl comes to class, and douche canoe Mr. Richie the kid instantly is like, "Oh, she's super hot, she's mine." And he claims that she is his in the middle of class where she can hear him in front of all these other dudes. He's like, "If any of you guys try to date her, you can't, she's mine. Oh my god, I'm gonna wow her, like, she's gonna be my girl." And this is right in front of this new girl. Well, not in front of her, like a couple desks behind her, but definitely loud enough where she can hear it. And she turns around and looks at like this douchey rich kid who's wearing way too much cologne and definitely thinks he has got the "I'm the sexiest man in the world" appeal, when it really is more of a "I look like I played too much League of Legends" appeal. So she looks back at him and he's like, "Oh, hey baby, what you looking at?" And she's like, "Ugh, you're calling me, but I would never date anyone that looks as gross as you." And he immediately gets all defensive, which is what every dude with like a super big ego does, because most of the time people who go out of their way to be super cocky and flex on you are super insecure, so whenever anybody makes fun of them, they low-key have a panic attack. So when he gets called out and everybody starts laughing at him, he decides that the only logical response is to insult the girl he was just flirting with. So he's like, "Oh, I claimed you just to make you feel better. None of these other dudes were interested anyways." And I don't know why, but watching people get their comeuppance is my favorite. So I raise my hand because I haven't said anything so far, and I'm like, "I'm interested." And the girl smiled at me. She's like, "Oh, okay. See, somebody was before you claimed me. I'm not a piece of meat to claim." Which, I mean, hey, good for you. Tell them off. Stand up for yourself. Yell at the spoiled kid being spoiled. And at this point, he thinks that he's like offended her. He thinks that he's just misspoke. Obviously, he's pressed because everybody's laughed at him, but he still thinks there's a way to save this and like look better than anyone. So he looks at me and says, "Shut up," and says what my dad's salary is for his job, which was supposed to convey like an insult, as if, you know, I was supposed to like start crying that my dad has a certain amount of money he gets paid for his job. No, not my dad's pay stubs, dude. Stop. But whatever, he calls me like by my number, and so I just like laugh at it. And then he looks back at her and is like, "You don't know how it works around here," and starts bragging about how rich his dad is and how he has like a Ferrari and his house is huge, and he's like probably the richest kid in the school. So he understands that he offended her, and he didn't mean to like offend her by saying that she was his and that no one else could hit on her. Like, he doesn't own her. He knows that women have rights. I love how that he had to clarify that too. He's talking to a girl. He's like, "Yeah, I do know women can vote, by the way." So he's laying on the talk by trying to tell her that no, it's okay that I was a douchebag because my dad's rich, which surprisingly does not go over very well with the girl with the brain. I just don't understand what a lot of these dudes are thinking too. Like, girls don't like dudes with the personality of like Versace cologne. They just don't. I'm sorry. I mean, don't get me wrong. You'll eventually settle with somebody that's gonna use you for all your money and pretend that they love you and low-key have kids with your boss. But if you continue to just be a giant jerk, that's kind of what you get. That's the trade-off. People that are jerks marry people that are jerks, and people that are nice marry people that are nice. It's just the setup for the rules. And the girl very, very slickly, almost with a flick of the hair to dismiss all annoyance that has been in her face now, is like, "I don't really care how much money you make. Sorry, I'm not that shallow." And the kid is like flabbergasted at the fact that this girl
girl is not impressed by the fact that her or his dad has money. And he starts telling her that, like, oh, obviously she wasn't his type then because she's a moron, and how he thinks that, like, girls like her are really idiotic to turn down guys like him because he could take care of them, which is always the move. If you want a girl to like you, start insulting them after they reject you. It definitely doesn't make you look desperate or, you know, like you have no idea how to interact with women, none of that. And so at this point, the girl looks pretty fed up, and I'm not gonna lie, being the new kid is scary enough, but coming in and roasting some dude definitely takes some cojones the size of Philip Rivers. So she looks at him as he's insulting her, saying that she's a moron, and is like, no, what's idiotic is claiming a girl that has never spoken to you at all and doing loud enough so she can hear you. Maybe if you want girls to talk to you, maybe you should stop treating them like you own them and start treating them like they have feelings. And the entire class is like, oh, because everybody just hated this dude. And just when we think it can't get worse, and she's like, oh, and one more thing, nobody cares if you have money because I bet you your dad is disappointed in you and wouldn't leave it to you anyways. And at this point, it's not like a super great insult, don't get me wrong, it's pretty mean. It doesn't sound that great in retrospect, like it's not the greatest roast ever spoken into existence, don't get it twisted. But you gotta understand, for a kid that did nothing but talk about how much he hated poor people, watching him get basically fisted in front of the class was pretty entertaining. So homeboy is now grabbing his hand like that one Arthur meme from a year ago where he just looks like he's about to let loose on everybody, and he's all embarrassed and he's all hot in the face, and he's like, well, whatever, at least at the end of the day, like, I still have money, like, you might not like me, but I still win at the end of the day because I get to go home in a Rolls Royce. Which, I mean, kind of fair enough, low-key, like, in retrospect, he kind of has a point. We can hate him all he wants, but he still gets to go home to the mansion. But after that, the posts making fun of poor people on Snapchat stopped. He definitely stopped thinking that he owned the place, and he stopped dressing like, I don't know, you know when old people's houses are decorated, and it's just really gaudy and tacky and just not vibing. Yeah, that's kind of what he would dress like. So after that, he switched it up a little bit and overall became a nice person, because every now and then your bully just needs to get roasted in front of everybody and dramatically embarrassed for them to have a life-changing experience. But on that note, guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to press the like button, turn on notifications if you're new. If you turn them on, send a screenshot to my Instagram at Scrubby for a shout out. I do one every day. Today's notification shout out goes to Madison Collins. Big thank you for having on notifications. I sure do really appreciate it. Hope you guys are being safe out there. If you're bored and need something to do, join the Discord server down below. And yeah, on that note, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. I do hope you guys are safe, and if any of you guys have any crazy stories, you can send them into my Instagram at Scrubby, my Twitter at ScrubbyVivo. I pick stories every now and then and do subscriber stories. So yeah, on that note, I'm out. Peace.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And if you are having a great day, do me a favor and press that like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam at all. Literally no joke or scams ever. You will become the Queen of England and then have to fight in a world war where you're gonna have to ride a steed into battle where you will be struck down by the king of Norway, Benji. Yeah, that's right. So press the like button if you don't want to basically cause World War III. I'm sorry. Real talk, what's going on, guys? It is your boy Scrub here on a beautiful Saturday. Hope you guys are having a good day. As you can tell from the timestamp in the corner of this video, it's gonna be a pretty long one, but I know that you guys love douchey rich kid stories more than fat kids love chocolate cake. It's just something that you guys really vibe with. I don't know what it is, but me talking about spoiled kids bangs like, I don't know, a backdoor and a hurricane, and I have to provide content for you guys. That's my job, especially during these trying times. I'm single-handedly fighting the coronavirus with my story times. This story takes place in a summer camp when I was like 10 or 11 years old. You know, my parents had to work a lot during the summer, and whenever my grandparents didn't want to watch me because I was a handful, they would send me to like this summer camp thing at a rec center that was pretty chill. It was pretty fun. There was never too much drama there, of course. It was basically just a bunch of kids hanging out all day during the summer, and it was better than being at, you know, a grandma's house, like watching old TV shows all day, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I used to stay with my grandmas during the summer, there would be some pretty weird stuff that would go on. Like, they would force me to help them act out like these 60 mystery shows. I was just not a fan. So, summer camp was pretty chill with me. I vibed with it. It was much better to hang out with kids all day because when you're a kid, you just get along better with kids. And the one thing that I will say about a summer camp at a rec center in a major city is there's a wide variety of kids that pull up, you know? I'm not really sure if, like, everybody that went to this rec center has good mental health histories or like hasn't gone insane ever since I was 10 or 11 because it's the last time I saw them, but there were definitely some interesting people that would make every day entertaining. For example, there was this kid that could fart and burp on command, and he would burp the alphabet while farting at the same time. And I know what some of you are thinking, oh my god, that's gross, that's ridiculous. And you might think that, but 11-year-old me thought it was the funniest thing on the planet, and I basically thought he had a superpower, you know? Like, it was up there with Spider-Man for me. Sure, you can have super strength and swing on webs, or you could be able to fart and burp on command at the same time. That's pretty impressive. There were some other characters, you know, it was like some kids that would always fight with the counselors who were also just 16-year-old kids. It was kind of a train wreck. It was really 16-year-old kids watching 10-year-old kids all day, but like one 16-year-old for every, 12 10-year-olds. So they're obviously outnumbered, and the amount of people that were just weird in this camp that would do weird stuff was entertaining to say the least. So I liked being around it. Everything's pretty normal for the first couple of weeks of summer, and then one day we're like outside in this grassy area, and by the grassy area is where new kids would pull up and get dropped off, or kids would get dropped off, and I was there pretty early because my parents had to work, so it's maybe like 8 in the morning, and most cars that would pull up and drop kids off at this like rec center summer camp, or like Fords or Toyotas, like normal cars, definitely not something you see. And as I'm sitting here, I see a Rolls Royce park in the parking lot, like right by the drop-off center. And I didn't know what a Rolls Royce was at the time. 10-year-old me was not like, oh my god, that's a Phantom. But you could just tell it was a nice car. It just has this aura about it that lets you know that whoever is driving it is important. I'm pretty sure whoever was driving the car had a monocle, like that's how bougie it was, and I've never understood monocles, okay? Why would you pay more money for half of glasses? Like, monocles should really be half expensive as glasses, so it's weird to me that rich people would want to flex the fact that they only have glasses on one of their eyes. But whatever, this Rolls Royce pops out, and out hops this kid that just walks with the swagger of somebody that's fired 87 people. Like, this dude definitely goes to his dad's company's barbecues and just fires people that make crappy potato salad. Like, he just walks with attitude. And so he has this dude in a suit who gets out of the car with him, walks him up, and like checks him in. And the entire time this kid is just snootily looking around at everybody else, us, in the field playing and whatever. And he's like got this snooty look of somebody that just thinks that they're better than you. You know when somebody gives you a look and it's just dismissive and rude and you can instantly tell that they think that you're a moron? That's the look that this kid is giving everybody. Anyways, this kid gets all checked in and he walks over and he like reaches out his hand to shake our hand. Keep in mind, we're like 10 or 11, so everybody kind of looks at him weird, and he says, well, I'm not going to say his real name just because I don't know, I just always change the names in these stories. I'm gonna name him Reginald, because that just sounds like the type of kid that eats $700 mustard and, like, wants to punch you in the face anytime anyone mentions anything that even sounds vaguely poor. Like, the dollar store, and he just has an involuntary reaction where he punches you because he hates poor people. Like, that's the type of air he gives off. So he comes over, and he reaches out and shakes her hand. He's like, hello, I'm Reginald, and my mother wants me to know what the normal class is like, so she's making me come here in the summer. And when you meet someone, just a general tip, saying that like, my mom wants me to know the lower class, so I'll hang out with you friends. It's just not a very good way of making friends. So whatever, everybody's like, hey, nice to meet you, Reginald, because kids honestly aren't very rude at first. Like, in retrospect, this kid was being a jerk, but everybody's just talking to him. And one of the kids who's like hanging out in our little group, whose name was Freddie, and he was pretty cool, and he like really liked cars. He knew what the car was, so he's like, oh my god, is that a Rolls Royce? Like, that's so cool. Oh, is it awesome to ride in, And this kid gets this, like, smirk on his face, and this is when everybody realizes that we're not gonna like this kid. He looks at Freddie in the face, who is complimenting his car and being like, wow, it's so cool, I bet you it's fun to ride, and he looks at him and goes, yeah, but you'll probably never be able to afford anything like that anyways, so it's not like it matters.
Bro, at 11 years old, this man is claiming that Freddy's never gonna be able to afford anything. How in the world do you know what anyone's gonna do at 11? At 11, bro, everyone probably thought that I was gonna end up, like, filling gas in cars in New Jersey, and now I'm a YouTuber. Crazy stuff happens sometimes. I mean, I was eating glue. Like, I can't be surprised that people didn't expect much from me, but what I'm saying is, this homeboy telling an 11-year-old that he'll never afford a nice car is crazy. And it also shows what his parents are like, you know, like, now remember, son, when you meet poor people, you have to, make fun of them and tell them that their dreams are stupid, so that way they never get any ideas. And it wasn't even like we were in a poor neighborhood, you know? Like, Freddy did not strike me as a kid that was scrounging for table scraps. He just seemed like a normal kid. Oh, yes, you middle-class people are morons. Like, yeah, okay. Am I ever gonna own a Rolls Royce? No, it's cool. But if I'm complimenting your car and just being nice, you don't have to tell me that I'm poor back. Like, that's just a little unnecessary. So, Reginald, immediately is kind of on the crap list. Nobody really vibes with him because he's just kind of mean. And any time that he has any excuse to bring up the fact that he's better than us, he would. Like, the first day, again, we're eating lunch and he's just kind of standing in the corner by himself like a weirdo. Like, only weird people eat lunch in the corner, for sure. I used to. So he's standing in the corner eating lunch alone like a weirdo, and like he's just giving me dirty looks, which is weird. I haven't even said more than like hi to this kid, and he's just staring at me, giving me this death stare that's like, I don't know who you are, but I don't like you. It's not a fan of your face. I hope it gets hit by a car. Like, he's just giving me this dirty look, and he's in the corner by himself eating, so I'm just eating with my friends, and I'm giving him dirty looks back, because I'm not gonna lie, even 11-year-old me was like, I don't take no disrespect out here on the streets. It might have been a rec center summer camp, but that's as close to the streets as I ever got, so it was pretty serious to me. So I'm giving him dirty looks back, and one of the camp counselors, who's like 16, mind you, walks over to him and is like, oh, are you like eating lunch alone? That's so sad. Here, come with me. And walks him over to our table with like me and my summer camp friends, right? And is like, can he sit with you? And obviously, I'm not gonna tell this like camp counselor like, nah, man, this kid smells like ball sack and vinegar dressing. Like, of course, I'm gonna be like, yeah, sure, I'm 11. I don't really know a lot. Plus, sharing is caring or whatever. I think I remembered more Barney episodes when I was younger than I do now. So I'm sure some part of me was like just trying to be a little bit of a good person. So he sits down, and I think I was eating like some reheated pizza or something. Which I will say, as Mac Miller once said, Kool-Aid and frozen pizza bangs. I warm mine up personally just because frozen pizza, I don't know, you get sick of it after a while. But I'm eating some pizza and he looks at it, he's like, oh, is that American pizza? And he says it as if, you know, American pizza is disgusting, which, say what you want, but Americans know how to make fat, disgusting junk food, okay? You can diss Americans for being obese, that's cool, but us Americans know how to make some pretty mean food, and Americanized pizza is good. Domino's bangs for a reason, you know? That's just the reality of the situation. So I'm like, yeah, it's American pizza, because I'm 11. What other type of pizza would I have? Do you really think my parents are hopping on a private jet, flying to Italy, picking up a pizza for the boys to eat at, you know, summer camp tomorrow? Of course it's American pizza. Where the hell would I get any other type of pizza? So I say, yes, it's American pizza, and he looks at me and is like, yeah, when I went to Italy, I had, like, real Italian pizza, and once you get used to that, this, like, disgusting, cheap American stuff just isn't that good. We're at 10 minutes, so I'm gonna have to ask you nicely, too. If you're enjoying the video so far, if you could press the like button and comment, like, I don't know, what you think of this douchey rich kid so far, I would really appreciate it. It just helps the video do better, and I'm really trying to hit, like, 2 mil subs on both channels, so if you could like and comment, I'd appreciate it. It just helps me do better. Which, first of all, Reginald, nobody cares that you went to Italy, bro. Good for you. Congratulations. What did you do? See some museums and stuff? That's great. Trust me, I want to go to Italy one day too, but I'm 11. Do you even fully appreciate Italy when you're 11? Like, your mom's like, oh my god, these stairs are 700 years old. You're like, well, I'm 10. I have no concept of time. I have no idea if that's a long time because I'm 10. That's 70 of me. Like, you can't understand, like, you can't understand it as good when you're 10, you know? So he's trying to flex on me and my American pizza, and I'm gonna say it, you know what? Apparently Italian pizza's sauce isn't as sweet and their dough isn't as thick, so I'm gonna say it,
I like American pizza. And if that makes me terrible, then guess what? At least I'm terrible in the best country on earth. USA. USA. So, whatever. Reginald is lecturing me about how apparently I'm a disgusting American for eating American pizza or whatever. And so, even back then, my tolerance for bullcrap has never been extremely high. So, I look at him while he's telling me about Italy, and I just go, can you shut up? And his face just like turns. He's like, what did you just say to me? You know, all snooty as if he's superior. And I'm like, can you shut up? And he's like, who do you think you are to talk to me this way? Which, listen, that might be a good line when you're like a 45-year-old and a 10-year-old tells you to shut up. But when you're both 10, who do you think you are is just a really crappy line because it's I don't know, we're both kids and you're talking a lot, so I'm telling you to shut up. It's not that complicated. So he's being all sassy. He's like, I'm going to tell on you, which... keep in mind, everybody running the summer camp is like 16 and doesn't care if you tell people to shut up. So I tell him, go for it, bro. I don't care. So he, you know, does this like slither away. You know what he kind of reminds me of, honestly, in the way he moves and like the way he acted? The bad guy from the first Monsters, Inc., Randall, like the slithery little crap head that would change his color based upon what was going on. That's who he low-key acted like. And I'm just saying, if your nearest personality twin is a Disney villain that was like trying to kidnap a child, maybe you should rework your personality because it might not be that good. This kid never got the memo. So he goes up to these like people running the summer camp and he snitches on me, which, you know, as I have said multiple times in my videos, in the infamous words of Little Skies, I ain't folding under pressure, I ain't switching for no hoe, I ain't talking to no cop, and I ain't telling on my bros. And sure enough, he snitches. He told on the bros. Violated rule number 1, and he says that I told him to shut up. But as he's telling them that I told him to shut up, he starts crying. Keep in mind, listen, we're young, but like, bruh, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. How are you gonna call me a stupid fat American and then cry like a little baby whenever I tell you to shut up? I'm just saying, that seems a little BS to me. So he's crying. Then obviously every girl-like person in charge is now like, oh my god, look at this little kid crying, it's so sad. And I see him turn and point at me, like dead at me. And all the girls look all disappointed, you know, and they come over to me. They're like, why would you tell him to shut up? You know he's new. That probably really hurt his feelings. So they tell me that I need to apologize because, like, it's against the rules to bully people and, you know, I have to be more considerate of other people's feelings. And I try to explain myself and go, well, he's making fun of us for being poor and eating American pizza. Like, I just told him to shut up because I don't care that he's been to Italy. I don't understand why that's mean. And I'm not going to apologize. And they're like, well, you need to apologize. And I put my foot down. I'm like, no, I don't care that this 16-year-old is bossing me around. I'm not even kidding. One of these girls that used to teach me has slid into my DMs since I became a YouTuber. So there's no way that I'm listening to them. Like, dog, you guys are not old enough compared to me to tell me what to do. So no, I'm not going to apologize. If this kid's being a jerk, he deserved to get told to shut up. So they basically are like, well, if you don't apologize, then we're calling your parents and you can't come back for 2 days because you're breaking the bullying rules. And I'm like, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do, because I'm not apologizing. And since then, I've learned something that you got to do in life sometimes. Sometimes it's easier to apologize, even if you're not in the wrong, to just like make life easier, okay? But I was not going to apologize to this kid for saying what I said, because honestly, I'd tell it again. If he somehow found this video, shut up. Again. Don't, whatever you're saying, you're not even talking right now, you're watching this, but shut your mouth. So, I don't apologize, he's still crying. They call my parents, they send my grandma to pick me up, and they're like, well, you have to spend the next 3 days at grandma's because, you know, we have nowhere else to send you, and like, after that, you can go back to the summer camp thing. So, I'm like, ugh, fine. So I'm at my grandma's house for 3 days, and the entire time I'm like plotting my revenge, bro. This kid that got me screwed. And I love my grandma, don't get me wrong. I really do love my grandma. But when you're 11, hanging out with like a 75-year-old German woman just is not always the vibe, dog. Like, she's asking me to play gin rummy. I don't even know how to read yet. Like, it's just not a vibe. So the entire time I'm just stewing. I'm like, stupid kid made me get in trouble. I didn't want to apologize. It's his fault. He was the one starting beef. Like, I'm annoyed this whole time, and you can't blame me. What do you want me to do? Like, obviously I'm gonna be annoyed at this guy who got me in trouble and kicked out of the place where I was having all this fun. So I talked to my grandma about it because we're eating lunch, and she asked me, she's like, what's bugging you? Because I'm picking out my sandwich. I'm all annoyed, and I basically tell her, I'm like, well, this is what happened. This kid, you know, was causing all these problems, so I told him to shut up and I got in trouble. And she basically tells me, she's like, oh,
Well, if he's bullying you, then the only thing you can do is try to fight him. And I know what you're thinking. That doesn't sound like very grandma-y advice, but I call her Oma. She's from Germany. She was born in Germany in 1939. Her first 6 years were in World War II, so she's just a little tougher than most. She has a different way of viewing things, and she's like, if this kid is going to be like that and snitch and cry, then you might as well give him a reason to cry. And I'm like, okay. 11-year-old me, is like, all right, look at my sage old wizard of a grandma giving me this valuable life advice, And obviously, I don't advocate for fighting people. Don't ever do that. But if you really have a bully that won't leave you alone, sometimes the only way to take care of it is to roast them back. Like, if somebody, let's say you've got glasses, and somebody's always like, oh, 4 eyes, oh my god, 4 eyes, and they're being relentless and won't leave you alone and it bugs you, the best way to get them to leave you alone is to be like, yeah, I might have 4 eyes, but at least I know who my dad is, Billy, okay? I guarantee you, once you do that, they're dropping it. They're not gonna make fun of you anymore. So my grandma is like, yeah, if he's got a problem, then, if he's gonna have a problem regardless, then you might as well give him something to have a problem about. And I'm like, yeah. So after 3 days of playing cards with my grandma, I get sent back to camp, and I pull up ready to go. Like, that Kevin Hart joke where he goes to the teacher and he walks in all hyped because he gets to swear at the teacher? That's low-key how I'm feeling. I'm not going to swear, obviously, because Susan is watching this. Please don't demonetize me. Please, Susan. My kids are starving. I really need this. And my grandma was also the one to drop me off, and on the way there, dude, she's like playing hype up rap music, but she tells me, don't try to start a fight with him, but like, if he's gonna have a problem, then you do what you gotta do, and I'll come pick you up if there's a problem. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, 11-year-old me all hyped, I'm like, doing push-ups on the field just to get a little pump on in case he wants to fight. And that day, the rec center has a pool attached, and it's a pool day, and pool days are the best because there was a water slide, and 11-year-old me, was amped. It's like, oh my god, it's a pool day. I'm gonna go down the water slide, and this kid's gonna catch my hands. We got a multi-step day going on. Everything is fantastic. I really don't know how the sun cannot be shining this bright every day. This is what life was made to be. So I pull up to my crew, my little crew that I was hanging out with before, and they're like, yo, Ryan, we missed you. That Reginald kid is a pain in the butt. He's just been making fun of everybody, but he always cries whenever you do anything back, and it's just been a pain. And I'm like, yeah, well, don't worry, bro, because if he starts anything today, papa, that's me fighting, by the way. That's my fighting noises. So my friends are like, yo, that's sick. So it's pool day, like I said. So we hop in our swim trunks, we change in the bathroom. Not together, obviously, because that would be weird, but you're picking up what I'm putting down. So we change in the bathroom, and we go, and we're waiting in line for the slide. And Reginald happens to be 2 spots in front of us. And the entire time, he's loudly talking to his little group of friends about how, some people just shouldn't be allowed back. As if I wasn't the only person that got sent home for a couple days. He's obviously saying it loud just so I can hear it, and I'm just, keeping my mouth shut. I don't want to cause a problem. Obviously, I'd prefer to not get in trouble, but hey, Oma told me what Oma told me. If something goes down, I no disrespect on these streets. This is the closest thing to the streets that I have, okay? When I listen to Chief Keef, I think about 11-year-old me on a water slide. I don't think about running the streets. You gotta let me have this one. So whatever, we go down the water slide, I have my fun, and when I get to the bottom of the water slide, because I was first in my group, before the rest of my group is there to back me up, him and his boys start pressing me right in the pool underneath the water slide. They start pushing me and being like, what you gonna do about it? And I'm like, oh, here we go. So I start pushing them back, and obviously 2 11-year-olds just pushing each other in the water with their heads barely sticking up out of the water just looks ridiculous. So nobody really knows that there's a little fight going on, but we're pushing each other back and forth. And my friend comes down, and it's the kid who can burp and fart on command, by the way. That's gonna be important. There's a reason I mentioned that earlier. So something you need to know about Reginald is because he's raised by, I don't know, people that buy art or whatever, he definitely has a weak stomach. He's very picky. He didn't have a very tough childhood. His mom and dad never made him eat vegetables that were gross. He always had oh, my chef made creme brulee broccoli. I'm sure it was great in his house. Good for him. He had good food. So we noticed that he had a weak stomach, and my friend comes down and he sees us pushing, and he comes over and he start pushing. Then at this point, Reginald is like, we're taking this out of the pool. And I'm like, all right, bet. So we climb out of the pool on this ladder, and we all take turns, by the way. We don't all climb up the ladder at once. We were gentlemen about the combat that was about to go down. And now I'm up in Reginald's face again. I'm pushing him. I'm like, what? And he's pushing me back, but we're both afraid to throw the first punch, you know? Like, neither of us wants to be the person that gets in trouble for this. And my friend who can burp and fart on command is standing there, and Reginald looks at him and is like, oh, you had to bring your trashy backup to save you? Like, I don't know where this 10-year-old had learned all these words to call people trashy and stuff, but he calls my friend that can burp and fart on command trashy. He's like, oh, you had to bring your trashy friend with you? You couldn't take me by yourself? And at that point, I think my friend had had enough, and he turns around and just pulls down his pants and bare booty farts on Reginald, bro. Like, bare booty farts on Reginald. And Reginald, like, almost goes cross-eyed. And the next thing out of his mouth is just, and he starts gagging. And as he's gagging, he turns away from the butt that has just farted on him and vomits into the pool right at the bottom of the water slide. And to make matters worse, so it's just kind of like floating in the pool, somebody else comes down the slide, like right into the vomit, straight. Just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. I didn't know that it was possible to have such a weak stomach that somebody like farting can make you throw up. But he yaks into the pool, which, you know, definitely does not pass the vibe check for most people, I'm assuming. I feel like a lot of people are not trying to swim with barf. The lifeguards blow the whistle. They have to shut down the pool. He's crying now after he's vomited. He like had to hit the double whammy, you know? Oh, I'm crying and I just vomited in the pool, and my friend is laughing hysterically on the ground because he just made this kid throw up with a fart. I'm laughing hysterically, like, on the floor because what am I supposed to do? How often am I going to see this? And his friends are even, like, trying to hold back their laughter, and he's just crying, oh my god, that's so disgusting, oh my god, you know, freaking out that somebody farted on him, which, like, obviously, it's disgusting, I'm not going to lie, but considering homeboy was about to try to fight me, he really did defuse the situation in the most non-violent way possible. Like, realistically, breaking up a fight with a fart is kind of a heroic move, you know? It's pretty impressive to have bowels that stinky. And we're only there for like 30 seconds before the people running the summer camp and the lifeguards that were like sometimes the same people come over and are like, what happened, you know? And he's crying and he farted on me and I threw up. Like, you know, just the little kids sobbing when they're trying to explain what just happened. And me and my friend are laughing. They're asking us what went down. And like I said, we're just laughing. We can't help it. Like, I don't know what you want me to explain. He told you what happened. So everybody's laughing hysterically. So they separate us and put us in like these little clear rooms that were, you know, 10 feet apart, like almost like a bigger penalty box than the NHL. They had 3 of them. They were like clear conference rooms, and they put us each in one and were like, until you guys calm down and we get to the bottom of this, you guys are going to sit in here, you know, no funny business. Like, I don't want to see any goofing off or talking to each other. Do you understand? And obviously me and my friend are smiling. We're like, yeah, sure, we won't talk. And we're all sitting here in like these glass rooms, and I look over and homeboy McDouche-a-lot, who has just barfed in the pool, is sitting there giving me a dirty look through the glass. And listen, you can give me a dirty look, man. I'm not the one who farted on you and made you throw up. It's not like it's my bad. And about an hour later, after sitting in timeout for an hour, like the director of the program, I had been escalated. This person was maybe 20, you know, not a 16-year-old. They come and get me, and they basically ask me to explain what happened. And I don't lie. I tell them the truth from the beginning. You know, I tell them about the shoving in the pool, and they're basically like, all right, well, Reginald has gotten his deposit back. His mom and dad don't want him to come here anymore because of the little stunt that you guys pulled. So he's not going to be here anymore. You just got back from suspension. I'm not going to suspend you again, because if you get suspended twice, you can't come back. So you and your friend just have to be sure to, like, not do anything like this again. No more fighting. And I didn't have beef with anybody except for Reginald. He was like the only person I beefed with. And I was like, yeah, all right, deal. And the rest of the summer, I didn't have issues with anybody because, surprisingly, if you're not calling me poor and stupid and telling my friends that their dreams are dumb, I don't have a giant reason to want to push you in the pool, and my friends don't have a reason to want to fart on you. So you're pretty safe. It's not like it was something that we were really going around doing on the daily in summer camp anyways. Even though if we did, that would definitely be another story time that would end up with me
in prison. But on that note, guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, you really should press the like button. This was a long video, a really long video, and it took a lot of time to make, so if you could press the like button, I'd appreciate it. Like, look, we're at 26 minutes of just recording. No editing, no retakes, just raw recording. So press the like button and comment. It really does help out the channel. If you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment Reginald down below, and let's see how many people actually made it to the end of this, because I highly doubt it's going to happen. Other than that, if you really want to support the channel, a link to the merch store will be down below, and you should definitely go check that out. It's pretty sick. New merch coming soon, too. Today's notification shout-out goes to KS21. A big thank you for having on those notifications. If you want a notification shout-out, turn it on, send a screenshot to my Instagram at Scrubby, and follow me on Twitter at Scrubby_69. On that note, guys, I'll see you guys next time with another video. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. And remember, don't be a douchey rich kid at summer camp that eventually barfs in a pool, because then you're just not a vibe and I'll make a video about you. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. And I hope everybody has a beautiful, beautiful quarantine. Happy May. Bye.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am, and today I've got a subscriber story for y'all that was sent in about something that I haven't talked about in a bit, which is a rich, spoiled kid getting absolutely obliterated, but by himself. I've talked about self-snitching on some of my other channels before, but this guy really snitched on himself and ended up screwing himself over. But regardless, it was right up my alley, so I figured I would make a video on it. Before we get into it, though, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam whatsoever, you are going to be in a situation like this guy where you get yourself basically held back. Yeah, definitely not cool. Press the like button. Anyways, the person who sent this in, I guess, went to a private school, and whenever you're at a private school, you tend to have to deal with a lot of kids whose parents have a lot of money, and when parents have a lot of money, for some reason, the kids tend to be a little douchey about it. At this guy's particular private school, I guess most of the kids were very, very cool, but there was one kid named Owen who was awful about the fact that his parents were rich. He would literally walk around like calling people peasants. If kids had beat up shoes, he would ask them why their parents just didn't buy them new ones. He just kind of went out of his way to make everybody like feel beneath him because of the fact that his parents had money, you know? And I've never really understood why people do this, bro. Like, if you're not an adult, if you don't have a job, if your parents have money, you flexing it doesn't actually matter, because we all know it's not your money. Like, ooh, watch out, your parents work really hard. Good for you, you know? Anyways, he was constantly flexing on everybody and bragging about stuff, and one of the things that he loved to brag about was the fact that his parents had paid for a tutor to like help him learn stuff, but they were paying him so much that he just ended up like doing all the work for him. That's right, he had gotten a tutor that was literally just doing all of his schoolwork for him, like all of the homework, and he was telling everybody about it. And honestly, that's probably not the best idea for the long term. Like, you still have to take the tests yourself, so not knowing anything that's going on probably isn't worth it. And even then, bro, like, let's say that, whatever, it's worth it, you already know all the information, you don't want to do it. If you have yourself a situation where you have a tutor that's doing all your work for you that your parents are paying for, maybe, just maybe, keep your mouth shut and keep that on the down low, because that's a very useful situation you got going for yourself, you know? Like, if something's going great for you, but you know you shouldn't be doing it, maybe don't go around telling the entire school. I know, crazy life advice coming out of me here. It's just probably not a good idea to tell anyone with ears about the stuff that you're doing that's making your life way easier when everybody else is still having to do all of the work that you're bragging about avoiding. It just rubs people the wrong way, you know. And there was one teacher in particular at the school who really, really hated cheating. And the class was like a world history, politics, hybrid class thing, so there was a lot of essays involved. Long, boring essays about like, write 5 pages about what you would have done in this scenario, why is this history thing impactful. And I do personally love history, but I can say writing 5-page essays consistently about topics you don't get to pick and choose is definitely not too fun. And, you know, obviously everybody kind of hated doing these essays, but he was always flexing about the fact that his tutor was writing them all for him. And, you know, for some reason, because he had been doing it for most of the year, the teacher really wasn't too suspicious. The guy always got like a decent level A on his essays, and so the teacher just thought he was really good at writing.
And one day, the teacher is kind of handing back essays, and when she would hand back essays, they had that day to kind of discuss their grade and talk about it and, you know, kind of debate with her about if it should be raised or not. And I guess Owen, on this particular essay that he didn't write, ended up getting a B. And, you know, he didn't write that. You got to keep that in mind. But for some reason, he got so irrationally angry that he decided to confront the teacher over the fact that he got a B. Why he would confront her about that, I don't know. That's literally the stupidest thing you can do. Hey, I didn't write this essay. Can we talk about the fact that you didn't give me an A on it? And that is honestly one of the biggest self-snitches I've ever heard of on this channel, bro. Like, literally could not have done more to put yourself in a crappy situation. Because it wasn't even like the teacher was suspicious up to that point. You know, he hadn't really done anything to raise any alarm bells. The writing was consistent, but nope, he had to push it. So the teacher ends up asking him a question about his specific essay, saying, I didn't like the way you did this, this, and this. If you can explain to me why you did it, then, you know, I'll give you an A. And suddenly, this rich kid, Owen, just starts floundering for words, bro. He's on the spot and he realizes that he doesn't know anything about the essay, and this teacher is asking him to explain why he deserves a bigger grade. And he doesn't have an answer, bro, because he didn't write it. And at that point, the teacher can kind of tell that, like, something fishy is going on, something's up, because, you know, if he really passionately wants his grade to be changed, if he's putting all this work into the essay, he should be able to argue about what he wrote in the essay, but it's almost like he doesn't know what's in it. So the teacher walks over and takes the paper out of his hands and starts, like, asking more questions about the topic and everything else, and it becomes very obvious that Owen has not a single clue of anything that is going on. Like, literally nothing. His brain is basically empty. And the teacher immediately just starts tearing into him. You know, she starts asking who wrote it because it's obvious that he didn't. And now he wants to plead the fifth, bro. The guy who has been walking around telling everyone about this and now is arguing with the teacher. Now he wants to stay silent and he's like, I didn't do anything wrong. And this is where the huge downside comes in of telling literally anyone that will listen about the fact that you're getting out of all the schoolwork. Because while most kids weren't willing to snitch, when you've told literally everyone in school, one or two of the teacher's pets has definitely heard about what's going on. So when the teacher starts asking who wrote his essay, one of the teacher's pets just basically calls out literally everything that they've overheard. Alright guys, I've got to interrupt the video for just 1 second. On screen now is actually a PlayStation gift card. For those of you that don't know, I give away a gift card in every single video here on this channel as a way to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed with notifications on. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on noties so you never miss another video. And if you already are subscribed with notifications on, then thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, on that note, I'll shut up and get back to the video. Anyways, as I said, the teacher's pet just starts snitching on him and says that he has a tutor who writes everything. She's doing all the work for all of his classes. You know, literally nothing that he's doing is his own work. Like, literally just rats on everything. And he denies it, and at that point, the class kind of backs up her story and is like, no, this is true. You're always flexing the fact that you never have to do any work because your tutor does it all. And, you know, it's kind of over at that point. The teacher is like, is this true? And he can deny it, but everybody knows because he just couldn't have kept his mouth shut, bro. As I've said, he had a really good situation going for him. All he had to do was, like, not fight with this teacher and just take the B. Especially if you're getting an A on, like, every other essay, then who cares? One B's not going to ruin your life. Or if you are going to argue, at the bare minimum, at least, like, read the essay so you know what you're talking about. To just go in blind and just be like, I need an A is stupid. So the teacher at that point just kind of, like, cancels the rest of what the class was going to be and just kind of continues asking the teacher's pet about the situation and learns basically every detail about it. This is why you probably shouldn't go around bragging about stuff that you shouldn't be doing. It's just, oh my god, bro. And, you know, he finds out that the teachers don't really like when they find out about the fact that they're doing none of their own work. So she sends him down to the dean to have it dealt with because she doesn't really know what to do. And obviously, it's a very big deal. He's screwed because he basically just got caught cheating in every single class that he's in at the exact same time. So in the dean's office, he kind of comes clean about everything, tells them everything going on, and they say that they're going to have to call his parents. And most rich kids in this situation have crappy parents that
that like come in and get mad at the principal for their son being an idiot. Well, they had no idea that the tutor was doing all this work. They just thought that they were paying the tutor and getting results, like the person was just actually really good at teaching their kids school. So they come down and start looking at everything, and all of his homework's not done by him, and the parents are pissed. This is a private school. They're paying for tuition. They're paying for the tutor, and this kid hasn't learned anything and literally has just done like none of his work. And, you know, instead of defending him, they did what was actually a good thing in this situation. Like, yeah, their son was a jerk flexing on everybody about how rich he was and whatnot. But they decide to make him retake all of these classes in summer school. They're like, since you wanted to just not do it the right way the first time, you're going to redo it. Which is honestly a pretty good thing to do that they actually punished him. He wasn't happy about it, but realistically at that point, the dean had basically outlined that he either had to redo it all in summer school or get held back a grade, because they just couldn't let him pass with the fact that he had cheated on literally every homework assignment that year. Like, that's not really something that they can just let slide because you didn't actually learn anything. But he had basically got himself into the situation by just not being able to shut up and not ruin the very good thing he had going for him, so it's not like I really feel that bad for him. And honestly, like, the punishment was kind of fair because, you know, it's not like he just got cheating on one essay. Obviously, summer school is insane if, you know, you just cheated on one essay or whatever. I used to cheat in school. I'm not going to deny that. But if you've done none of your work and you get caught, like, you know, hey, if he doesn't get caught, kudos to him. More power to him. But if you get caught, this is what's going to happen. Like, the adult's hands are tied. They have to punish you. And he obviously learned his lesson about bragging too much about stuff that you should probably just not be talking about. And beyond that, if you are in a rich situation, maybe don't be making fun of people for being poor, calling them peasants, making them feel awful about themselves, because then the second they get a chance to bury you and snitch on you to their teacher, they're gonna do it, and you can't blame them because you were just being a jerk to them like 15 minutes before. Definitely regretted that in summer school, for sure. It's just better to keep your mouth shut sometimes. But anyways, guys, I think that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, as I've said, I'd really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button and comment down below. It helps the video do better. If you've actually made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment the word James Bond down below just so I know how many people do. I really do appreciate it, and it helps the channel do better. Beyond that, subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss another video, and I've got some more stuff to plug. If you guys want to listen to these on Spotify, I actually did put a bunch of the old story times up on there, so a link to that will be in the description. Feel free to go check that out. And while you're down in the description, you might as well click the merch link and head on over there. Check that out too. It's pretty fly if you ask me, no bias whatsoever. And last but certainly not least, if you use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout, it gives you a discount. It helps me out. Everyone's a winner, so be sure to do that. But on that note, guys, that's actually gonna do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys all next time with another video. I'm out. Peace.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I've got a story time for y'all I know you're going to love. Basically, it comes from a time when I was younger and I had to hang out with my mom's friend's kid, and he was just this douchey rich kid trying to boss me around, demand that I do stuff for him, and when I decided to say no, he didn't like that and tried to fight me instead. Perfectly logical reasoning. You don't want to do the ridiculous task I asked you to do? Well, then Mortal Kombat is the only way. Either way, I figured it would be something you guys would enjoy, so yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So this story takes place when I was 8 or 9 years old, and my mom decided to tell me that she had a party at her friend's house. And she decided to tell me this because the person whose house she was going to had a kid my age, and she asked if I wanted to come and just like hang out. Apparently me and him had similar interests, and his mom thought we would get along. And from the sound of it, it sounded pretty cool. Apparently he had a pool, apparently it was gonna be a big party, so I was like, yeah, sure, why not, I'll go. And on the way there, I'm kind of like, alright, mom, so what is this dude like? I don't even know his name. And she tells me that his name is actually Sean. He was like 4 months older than me, but we had all the same interests and it would be sick. And I get there and Sean walks up to me and he says, hey, are you Ryan? And I'm like, hey, are you Sean? And he says, yes. And I'm like, all right, it seems pretty okay so far. And that's when it starts sucking right off the bat. He doesn't wait too long. He's relatively cool for like the first minute. And as we're talking, he asked me if I wanted a soda. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll take a soda. Because when you're at a party and someone offers you a soda and you're a little kid, what are you gonna do? No, I don't like sugar. I'm sorry. Of course I wanted a soda. So he takes me to the garage where they have the second fridge that's full of their drinks. And he's like, all right, well, I want a Dr. Pepper. So he reaches in and grabs it. And I just say, oh, I want one too. So I start to reach for a Dr. Pepper. And as I'm reaching for the Dr. Pepper, he takes his hand and smacks my hand. Like, don't touch that. And I go, what are you doing? I want a Dr. Pepper. And he tells me that I don't get a Dr. Pepper because Dr. Pepper was for his friends and people that he liked and he didn't know me. So I had to have a Dr. Thunder instead, which is just a knockoff Dr. Pepper. And listen, 99% of the time, I don't care. Whatever, a Dr. Pepper and a Dr. Thunder, close enough, I don't mind. But there was something about the fact that he was drinking a Dr. Pepper and told me I couldn't have one because they were only for his friends, and then making me go get a warm Dr. Thunder out of a box on the ground, that really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, come on, just let me grab a Dr. Pepper. Or even then, at least have Dr. Thunder in the fridge. Like, he's really making me drink a warm soda, so off rip, I don't really like the guy. But whatever, I'm stuck here now. My mom is hanging out with the mom, so I'm kind of just stuck. So we go upstairs and we start hanging out, and when I walk into his room, I'm a little bit impressed because the dude has every Nerf gun ever invented. Like, okay, maybe not everyone ever invented, but this guy basically had an arsenal. If for whatever reason zombies appear that are allergic to foam, this guy would have been the #1 resource for the US military. He's got Nerf guns everywhere. I like Nerf guns, so I'm like, oh, this is really cool. So I walk over and I pick one up. And similar to the Dr. Thunder thing, he like runs over to me, grabs it out of my hand, and is like, don't touch my Nerf guns. And fair enough, I guess I didn't ask. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that they were like some holy item. I didn't know that Nerf guns were off limits, but he starts being like, you need to wash your hands before you play with my Nerf guns. Okay, bro, fine. I go and wash my hands. I come back and he says, all right, we're going to have a Nerf war. And I'm all right with that. At the time, I really liked Nerf guns. I was fine to have a Nerf war. And he says, okay, I'm going to pick out my weapon first. And obviously, it's his house. Those are fair rules to me. I'm not one to shake things up. And he goes and he picks out this thing called the Vulcan. And for those of you that don't know what a Vulcan Nerf gun is, it's effectively a chain gun. It literally is a chain gun Nerf gun with like 100 bullets. And they don't work right all the time, but if they do work, then obviously they shoot a lot of Nerf bullets. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna pick out what you get to use. And I immediately don't like the sound of this, because I've got a pretty good feeling he's about to just give me some little wimpy gun. And sure enough, he walks past this collection of all these cool Nerf guns he has over to this like toy box thing, and he opens it up, and there's this little tiny Nerf gun. It's tiny, and I'm like 8 years old, that only holds one bullet in it. And he pulls it over to me and he says, okay, I think you can use this one. And listen, I'm not an expert at combat, okay? I don't think I'm some Navy SEAL, but what I can tell you is if you have a little tiny gun that only shoots one bullet, and the person you're fighting against has a chain gun with belt-fed ammunition, you probably don't stand a very good chance. And so I kind of like ask him, dude, come on, can I have anything else? Like, you have a chain gun. Can I please get something else for this Nerf war? And he starts to lecture me about how he doesn't trust me and I'll probably break anything that he has because he just doesn't think I'm smart enough to know how to use Nerf guns. I get not knowing me, but come on, man. I'm not stupid. What am I gonna do? Manage to take your Nerf gun and break it over my knee? I don't have the strength for that. But whatever. I'm starting to get increasingly annoyed of hanging out with this kid because it's just not fun. But he demands that we have the Nerf war, and at this point, I'm like, I guess it would be more entertaining than standing here talking to you. So we go ahead and we have the Nerf war, and obviously, I lose. And after like one round, I tell him I'm done. I don't really want to play anymore because it just wasn't fun. The entire Nerf war, it was basically just me hiding behind cover as he just proceeded to shoot endless rounds of Nerf bullets at me. The way that the Vulcan work, it had this like box that held the belt with the ammo in it. This kid, his parents would buy him every Nerf gun that he wanted, so he had multiple boxes. So he would run out, slap another box on, and just keep shooting at me. It was awful. Not very fun. So I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. And he looks at me and he goes, no, you have to play. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to play, so I'm not gonna play. I don't have to do anything. And then he's like, well, no, you have to do what I say. You're at my house, so my rules are the way that it's going to work, so you have to do what I say, and I say that we're gonna keep playing. And listen, I might have been young, but even when I was young, I knew that that's not the way it's supposed to work. Whenever someone came over to my house, my mom would always be like, remember, they're the guests, so you gotta do what they want. I guess this guy had the flipped rule script. Maybe I'm weird for that. Let me know in the comment section. Am I wrong? I feel like if you're at someone's house, usually they're supposed to be nicer to the guests than like forcing the guests to do whatever they want to do. But anyways, he's trying to pressure me that I have to play, and I just keep being like, no, I don't want to play, so I'm not going to play. And he's getting angrier and angrier, going off about how it's his house and I have to do it. And finally, I look at him and I'm like, I don't want to play, so I'm not gonna play. And instead of accepting it, he starts stomping his foot on the ground and like doing the cry talking thing. Yeah, you need to play. And now I'm just even more confident that I don't want to play. So I'm like, dude, I don't want to play. And if you keep acting weird, I'm just going to go tell my mom. And at that point, I guess all bets were off, which to be fair, I probably shouldn't have said I was going to go tell. It's not like I was actually going to snitch. I just thought maybe if I told him I was going to go snitch, that he would be a little more normal and be like, fine, I guess we don't have to play. Anyways, he decides to be like, there's nothing you could tell on me for. My mom says I'm in charge because it's my house, so go ahead and tell. They wouldn't care anyways, you tattletale. And I'm like, all right, dude, I won't tell on you, but you do realize you're kind of being annoying. Like, you're trying to force me to play this game that I don't want to play, and I don't like that. And he's like, I'm not trying to force you to do anything. You just need to play, which I don't know if he realized is the exact same thing. I'm not trying to force you to do anything. If you don't, I'll just break your legs. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I've really got a choice in this matter. But whatever, when he says you need to play, he also shoves me. And listen, up to this point, I was fine with just playing Nerf guns or like finding a way to solve this peacefully. But once he shoved me, I was like, okay, I guess we're gonna fight. So I shove him back. And the second that I shove him back, I shoved him a little bit harder than he shoved me, because that's how the two first pushes work. And all of a sudden, he starts crying and starts being like, you hit me, you hit me. And I'm standing there confused because I didn't hit him, I just pushed him. Trust me, if I knew that either way you were gonna start crying and saying that I hit you, I would have just punched you in the face. Like, at that point, why not? Let's be honest. If you're gonna freak out if I push you, I might as well hit you. That's a joke, YouTube, by the way. Either way, I said that, like, I didn't hit him, and he goes, well, I'm gonna tell on you. And now the shoe's on the other foot, and I start being like, oh, you're gonna tell on me? That sucks. You're a wimp. You have nothing to tell on me for. And he realizes that I'm just saying what he said to me back to him, and he's like, that's not funny, I'm telling, you know, I don't know why my mom said we would like to hang out. And I'm like, I don't know why my mom said that we would like to hang out either, because you suck, dude, I'm not trying to hang out with you. And he's like, what did you just say about me? And I said, you suck, I don't want to hang out with you. And I guess in his house, he had one of those moms where, like, suck was a swear word. My mom didn't really care, but I guess in his house, suck was basically the equivalent of saying that somebody's mother was a see you next Tuesday. Because he's like, you take that back right now or I'm gonna fight you. And just because this kid had cried when I shoved him, I wasn't necessarily afraid of fighting him. I don't want anyone to think that I think I'm some tough guy rolling around like I can beat up anyone. No, I do not think that at all. That being said, if I shove him and he starts crying and saying that I hit him and then he challenges me to a fight, like, my odds are solid. What is this kid gonna do when I actually hit him if he cried when I pushed him? Keep in mind, he's older than me too. So, like, homie should theoretically just be able to put the beat down on me. But I'm saying, like, I'm not gonna take it back. If that's how it's gotta be, then I guess that's how it's gotta be. And he shoves me again, which I don't know if that's just the only, like, combat move he knew. So I push him back, this time even harder than I did the first time, and he kind of stumbled back a bit, and he's like, that's it, I'm gonna fight you. Which, I guess, yay, that's it. He's gotta fight me. I pushed him. I don't know. And he's maybe 3 feet away, and he decides that the best way to punch me in this situation would be to sprint at me from 3 feet away, which is just not enough time to really get speed, and try to do like a jousting with his fist move. I don't even know how to describe it other than he was kind of sprinting at me with his fist out. just hoping that I didn't move. And even though he was only 3 feet away, he wasn't the fastest, so I just kind of like moved out of the way of his arm that was very obviously stretched out. No karate skills needed, alright? I'm not trying to say that I magically dodged a punch, I just stepped to the left. But as he runs past me, I'm like, oh, he's gonna keep running, so I just decide to trip him, which I know is not like the nicest move in the world, and like, oh, that's not cool, who cares? He tried to punch me in the face, I tripped him. It's all good. He cried last time I shoved him, alright? I didn't want to hit him, so I just stick my foot out and trip him with it. And he goes like swan dive mode. The original Black Ops, remember if you were sprinting and you went prone, your guy would just kind of go flying in the general direction of where you were aiming? That's kind of what he looks like. Like, I stick my foot out and trip him, and just because of how he's running or whatever, he immediately just goes full dolphin dive, and he smacks onto the ground and he slides a bit, and as he's sliding, I guess he hit his head on this like Rescue Heroes aircraft carrier toy thing that he had. It was like for action figures, and it was plastic, so I'm sure it didn't feel good, but he grabs his head and he's like, you cracked my head open. And listen, there was literally no way on planet Earth that him falling and sliding cracked his head open on this little thing. Like, okay, did falling hurt? Probably, but it wasn't like he fell very hard. It was just the forward momentum that kind of propelled him. I'm sure it wasn't pleasant, but now he's screaming that I cracked his head open as if I took a baseball bat there or something. And now the parents are coming upstairs. I hear them coming upstairs, and I'm like, well, great, this is gonna be awkward. And sure enough, the door opens, and it's his mom. My mom's not with her, and she starts yelling, what happened? What happened? And he yells that I tripped him. And she turns around to me. And listen, I thought this kid was a little bit of an angry person who was bossy. His mom starts laying into me. Who do you think you are when you're at my house to trip my son? I can't believe that I let you come over. You have no right to act this way in my house. She doesn't even know what happened yet. She's just kind of hoping her son is telling the truth. So I'm like, okay, well, he was kind of hitting me. He tried to hit me. That's why I tripped him. And his mom is one of those moms where her baby can do nothing wrong. She's already yelling at me. She already thinks I shouldn't be at her house. But now I've tried to say that it's her son's fault for trying to hit me. Which, listen, in the scale of fighting, if someone tries to hit you and you trip them, I feel like that's de-escalating the situation. Punching someone in the face is always worse than tripping them in my mind, unless it's like by a cliff. But whatever, she starts going off how there's no reason to ever trip her son in her house, and it doesn't matter if he tried to hit me. He was probably just playing a game and I shouldn't have tripped him, which, I mean, even if he was playing a game, I just don't want to play. Alright, let's play a game where you stay still and I run at you and punch you in the face. That's a really fun game. Like, no thank you, I don't want to play. So I just tell his mom, like, I don't really care, but I don't want to play with him anymore. And she's like, fine, then you won't play with him anymore. But you never lay a hand on my son again. And this, what I said back, is pretty smart alecky of me. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of being a smart aleck. But I didn't think I was being a smart aleck. She just said never lay a hand on my son again. So I looked at her and said I didn't hit him, I tripped him. And she, of course, is like, what did you say? And I'm like, what? You said don't lay a hand on your son. I didn't lay a hand on him, I tripped him. And she's like, I'm gonna go find your mom. You need to get out of my house. I can't believe this disrespect. And as I've said before on stories on this channel, I don't know what it is. Whenever, like, there's a serious situation, someone's yelling at me, I get bad news, like, situations like that. I don't know why this happens, but I just start laughing. And that starts happening here, too. She's screaming at me, but, like, I'm laughing. Because, A, it finally registers in my brain why it was funny that I said I tripped him. Like, it's like, oh, she said don't put my hands on him, and I said I'll just kick him next time. I get why she's mad. So I'm laughing at that. I'm laughing at her being mad. I'm laughing at this spoiled kid who's like freaking out, standing behind his mom, egging her on, like, yeah, mom, you yell at him. It's just hilarious. And she's like, oh, you think this is funny? And I'm not trying to tell her that I think it's funny, but I also don't want to lie and say I don't think it's funny. So I'm just kind of like, no, I don't want anyone to be hurt. It's not funny. The situation is just funny. And she's like, well, what's funny about this situation? And I'm a little kid. I can't really explain it. All I know is it's making me laugh. And so I just go, can you just go find my mom so I can go home? And she's like, fine, but you're going to explain to her what you think is so funny. And I hear her stomp out. I hear people coming back up the stairs a little bit later, and my mom's with her now. And my mom's like, what happened? And I'm like, all right, we were playing a game, da-da-da-da-da. I give her the whole breakdown, and then I get to the part where I say, he shoved me and tried to hit me, so I tripped him. And his mom, who, keep in mind, was not in the room for any of this, she didn't witness this, she didn't see anything, is like, that's not what happened. I don't know how she knew. Maybe she had security cameras, a third eye or something. She used her telekinetic powers, but whatever the power she was referring to, she clearly was not very good at it, because that was what happened. But she starts going off about how her son would never hit anyone, and that's not true. And listen, lady, it's not my fault you don't know what your son is capable of, because he definitely did try to hit me in the face. And at that point, my mom's looking at me, and I think she could just tell that, like, I wasn't making this up. I don't know if it was a look in my face or just like a look of what is going on, but I wouldn't make up him hitting me. There was no reason for me to do that. But my mom decides at this point the best course of action is to just leave. So she says something to his mom about how, like, look, we're just gonna go. Clearly this has gotten out of control. I don't know what's going on, but it's not that big of a deal, so we'll just leave. And my mom, like, grabs my hand and starts walking me out of the room down the stairs. And we're about halfway down the stairs when I hear my mom's name getting yelled. And I look back up, and it's the spoiled douchey kid's mom, and he's next to her, and they're both looking at us. And his mom starts yelling at my mom about how I'm the worst behaved child she's ever met. I am basically the embodiment of Satan. She should make sure that I get an exorcism because I'm just so insane. Keep in mind, her son had tried to punch me in the face, which, if I am so insane that I need an exorcism, would mean that your son is literally Satan. Like, if we're gonna roll with your logic here, okay? I tripped him, he tried to hit me. If tripping makes me evil, then trying to punch someone in the face would basically be the equivalent of, like, I don't know, stomping on Bambi's mom's body. But at that comment, my mom starts going off. And listen, I'm not saying my mom didn't have my back. She just usually was the type of parent that was, like, more chill, I guess. Don't get it wrong, my mom would go crazy sometimes. I think every mom does that. But, like, I don't know. She wouldn't really go off on other people if they bugged her. She would just wait till we got in the car and be like, wow, that person was annoying. But with this lady yelling at me and her about me, she starts going off, being like, your kid is the one that clearly tried to start a fight with my son, and you're lucky that my kid only tripped him because your kid's a little baby who was crying that he hit his head on some plastic, all right? So don't come at me and start telling me that my kid sucks when your kid is clearly the problem and your house is tacky. And at that note, we left, which, hey man, what a mic drop. She said, your kid sucks and your house is tacky. Goodness, I think that was the more hurtful insult. She's like, yeah, okay, I knew my kid was garbage, but my house is tacky? That's too far. Either way, we leave, we get in the car, and I start explaining to my mom, I'm like, look, I didn't do anything. I didn't start the fight. Like, I really wasn't trying to start any issues. He just tried to hit me, so I tripped him, and he was shoving me. And my mom's like, look, normally in these circumstances, I believe that you run your mouth or something, but I saw the look on your face when that lady was yelling at you, and I knew you did not start this fight. You were not trying to have an issue. Like, this was not on you. Thankfully, my mom believed me because, like, I was telling the truth. You know, I wasn't capping. I did not try to start the fight, but obviously I'm going to defend myself if someone's trying to punch me in the face. There's no school rules here, bucko. Not both of us are getting suspended if it's a private event. I mean, we did end up having to leave, but still. Overall, I would give the douchey rich kid about negative 87 out of 10. Not very fun to hang out with. Will force you to use bad Nerf guns in a Nerf fight. Give you knockoff warm soda and then fight you when you don't want to play anymore. What type of logic is that, man? Either way, though, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did enjoy it, I would appreciate y'all taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought. We're back on the daily upload grind, and the best way to make sure the daily uploads continue is to like and comment. It just helps me know you guys want them. So if you like the daily uploads, like, comment, all that stuff. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on those notifications because the daily uploads are back, ladies and gentlemen. If you like listening to the stories but you don't like the gameplay, you need to listen offline, whatever floats your boat. I do post the story times on Spotify. Link to that can be found down below, along with a link to a playlist I made here on YouTube of my favorite story times of the year. You guys can go ahead and check that out. Link in the description too. And yeah, on that note, that'll do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. I'm out. Peace. Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I've got a super cool story time that was sent in to me, but I've never had a story like this sent in. It involves a rich kid being destroyed, but not standard. Dude works in an investment bank, so, you know, a little bit higher stakes on what's going on. Either way, I thought it would be something you guys would enjoy, so that's what we're going to be talking about. So before we get into it, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam, GTA 6 will never come out. Yeah, that's right, I'm holding it hostage, so press the like button and let's go. Oh, and here's the comment of the day. Don't worry, I didn't forget. I forgot for a bit, but not anymore. Alright, so as I said, the guy that sent this in to me works at an investment bank, and he's not high up or anything, he's like at the very bottom of the totem pole, but technically his title is asset manager, so he's got a little bit of experience managing the stocks, mostly handling like 401k accounts for companies, because I guess that's like a good job for new people, because there's a ton of regulations, you really have to stick to the guidelines. So, like, you really can't go lose a bunch of money doing stupid stock stuff because you have to have certain amounts of X, X, and Y. So he had been doing that for a while, and he was enjoying it, and he understood that, like, you gotta work your way up, like, it just is what it is. It was a lot of work, but he saw that eventually, if you keep going and you get to the good part, you make a lot of money. And one day, he's sitting in his office, and his boss comes in, and he seems kind of shy. And his boss is not a shy guy. Like, usually, you'd be thinking to yourself, please shut up, if he was standing there talking to you, because it was just an endless stream of words. And he finally comes clean, and he's like, all right, my boss, so the guy above him, wants him to hire his kid. And he was going to be starting the next day, and, you know, he was wondering if he would train him. And the guy's standing there like, bro, I'm handling the accounts that you told me are so easy, anyone couldn't mess it up. Like, a baby could manage this account, and you want me to train your boss's kid? And he's like, yeah, I know you're new, but I just think you'll probably be the best at it, because he doesn't have a whole lot of education about it. He's just dipping his toe in. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wanting to try something before you dedicate your life to it. That's a perfectly reasonable position. Like, okay, make sure you like something before you dedicate yourself to it. But I feel like investment banking isn't really one of those things that you can kind of dip your toe in the kiddie pool on. Like, I feel like that topic, you either dive in or you don't. In my mind, it's like one of those topics, it's like law or being a doctor or like something that takes a ton of knowledge, like doctorate level stuff, you know, being a professor. In order to get to that level, you can't really just be like, I want to try being a professor for a week. Like, well, no, you have to have years and years of knowledge in order to like know what they know. But whatever, he's like, yeah, sure, if you really want me to do it, fine. I can train him, I guess. And so his boss is pretty grateful. He's like, thank you. He's going to be cool. Like I promised, it's going to be fine. And he's just not really knowing what to expect. He was going in with no expectations because that way there's no way to be like dramatically disappointed. This could go good. This could go bad. Like that's the attitude to have in a situation similar to this one. And you would think that if he had gone out of his way to like set up this job, even if his dad is the boss, like if he had gone out of his way to apply himself, you know, and maybe learn a little bit, he would come in willing to learn even more. I feel like if it's your first day in a job in an industry you know nothing about, like you should just be trying to learn as much as humanly possible. Because you're not an expert, there's a reason you're like an intern here. It's not because you're some stock trading genius. This guy hasn't been to school for finance. He has no like investing experience outside of what he's done on Robinhood, which sure is experience, but not really the same thing as like managing multiple millions of dollars in portfolios for companies. Like it's just not the same thing. Well, the guy comes in, and I'm gonna name him Eric for this story. That's not his name, but I just feel like naming him Eric. And Eric comes in and is off the rip super polite to the guy's boss. He's like, wow, thank you so much for this opportunity. This is going to be great. He introduces him to Mark, which is the name of the subscriber. And he's like, Mark knows a lot. He just started here, so he's probably going to be good at explaining things that he wishes would have been explained a little bit better to him. So you guys are going to be working together. And Eric is like, oh, it's so great to meet you. I'm so excited to work together.
And as soon as the boss walks away, it's like Eric gets possessed by a demon, and he just snaps at him. Listen, man, I've watched tons of investing videos on YouTube, so I don't need any training, okay? I just want you to stay out of my way and let me do what I have to do. My goal is to get in and take over this company in a year. Like, bro is acting like he's straight out of Wolf of Wall Street, you know? I don't think he watched that movie to the end where they go to jail. Like, he's just coming in, I don't need any training. I'm not saying that there's not a lot of, like, knowledge on YouTube. You can learn about a lot of stuff on YouTube. But I do feel like, once again, investment banking is one of those things that, like, YouTube videos doesn't count as real-world experience. Imagine there's a medical emergency and the guy pulls up and he's like, all right, guys, don't worry. I've watched a YouTube video on how to perform a lobotomy. And they're like, dude, his ankle is broken. Why would you need to do brain surgery? You can learn a lot. You can have a lot of real world experience. And some people are geniuses and they don't need it. But that's not this situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a savant and you're just out there trading stocks on your own and you're a multi-billionaire, none of this applies to you because you're a 1 in a bajillion chance. You're like the Taylor Swift of the investing world. But whatever, he just gets really snappy acting like he knows it all. And Mark doesn't really know how to react to this, so he tries to nicely tell him, like, you know, I'm glad you've learned about this a little bit, and I had a bunch of previous knowledge coming in too, but there's a lot of stuff that you probably don't know about that we have to kind of go over, like there's a lot of laws and regulations. And Eric cuts him off and says, you old folks don't get it anymore, all right? I get that you're threatened because you realize I'm the future, but it is what it is. And at that point, Mark decides that he's not going to go out of his way to help this dude. He's just gonna let him do what he has to do. And the way that they train new people just to see their level of knowledge and, like, see if they could understand concepts being taught to them but not risk the business any money, is they had the entire, like, the trading account management set up, not necessarily like day trading, but just portfolio management set up, and then they would give them $50,000, but like fake money, but they didn't tell them that. Like, it was the real software, but the money was not real. The prices were real, the movements were real. So that way, if they're an idiot and they, like, break the law, it's not like this entire investment bank has to go belly up. They're just training them. And it's not a ginormous investment bank, by the way. I didn't realize that there's some that are not big. In my mind, all of them are just like Goldman Sachs because I don't know a lot about it. But this guy's is like, you know, there's like 40 people that work there. It's relatively large. And so he sets him up the account and he's like, all right, well, if you need anything, please let me know. Like, I'm seriously here to help. I just started about 2 years ago, so like I can help you. And once again, Eric cuts him off and he's like, listen, Mark, I don't need your help. All right. I'm here to outperform you. Okay. And he just can't believe the ego on this dude. Because here's the thing. Obviously, if you're at the job to make money for people, then, like, you want to be the best at making money. Everyone knows that. That's just like an unspoken agreement amongst everybody there. But you don't have to throw your coworkers in the dumpster to do it. Like, everyone can make money, you know? It's not like only one of you has to have the ability to make money there. You have to snuff out everybody else. Hopefully, there's not only one guy at the bank that's capable of making money at a time. Could you imagine how bad the Sith would be at business? Awkward Star Wars side note. But, like, okay, there's only 2 of them. No wonder they haven't been able to succeed, dude. They don't have the funds. Oh, no, there's 2 of us. Like the Jedi, dude. You know, they figured it out. For a while. All right, we're not going to talk about what happened after. But for a while, think about it. Think about it. How are you supposed to scale your business without, like, a bunch of employees? And stormtroopers don't count because they suck. Like, let's be honest. We've seen stormtrooper accuracy. Either way, he's just really going to let this kid, like, jump into the deep end. And if he can swim, sweet. But if not, it's not his problem anymore. But they had a way to make sure that if somebody was, like, going to really deny the training, that they had to sign an agreement with their trainer just so that way they couldn't go to the boss later and be like, oh, well, they never taught me anything. It's their fault. So you have to sign a paper being like, I told them that I do not want any training. I am 100% sure that I don't want any training. In fact, if anyone tries to train me, I will do the most insane 360 no-scope Cobra Kai kick that you've ever seen in your life, and I will disconnect your jaw from the rest of your skull. But he goes to tell his boss about it because, you know, it's his boss's son. So if he's going to mess up and, like, not sign this training agreement and not take any training, then he figures that his boss probably should know about it just to be aware of it. And his boss is like, can you please try to help him? You know, please, like go in there and try one more time. And so Mark, being guilt-tripped by his boss, decides that he's going to go try one more time to talk to Eric. So he goes over there, and Eric literally, before he even says anything, says, "Go away, Mark, I'm trying to work." So he goes back to his boss, almost like he's playing ping pong back and forth, and tells him. And so his boss says he's going to go try. So he goes to Eric's cubicle and says, "Wait here," to Mark, like in his office. And he comes back 15 minutes later looking mad and says to Mark that Eric told him, the boss, that he was gunning for his job and he doesn't want any help. And even Mark is flabbergasted by that. Like, it's one thing to tell off some dude, I guess, that you don't really know, but to tell the guy that is giving you the chance to screw off and you're gunning for his job is a little out there. Like, that's a little disrespectful, you know? Even if your dad is super high up in the company, I don't think he would like that, because I'm sure he would not appreciate somebody coming in and speaking to him like that the same way, you know? He is your boss at the end of the day. So whatever, he's over here threatening everybody's job like he's just got the ability to just you fired everybody. But then he pulls something out that surprises Mark. He has another letter where he rejected training from the boss. So now they have proof that he's rejected training from 2 different people. And he kind of asks his boss, like, well, why did you get a second one, you know? And he says, because I just, by the vibe the kid gave me about gunning for my job, know that the kid's going to do something shady if he can't perform. Like, he's going to try to find a way to blame us, and it's just a gut feeling. So they're waiting in the office, kind of talking about stuff, and about 30 minutes later, after this entire interaction, right? So not a very long period of time, Eric comes into the boss's office, doesn't knock, just flings the door open and walks in. "Hey, I need more money in that account. I'm almost out of the 50. And they're like, "What do you mean?" And he says, "Yeah, I made a few bad trades, you know, just beginner's bad luck, so I'm going to need some more money because it's gone." And they're like, "Dude, there was $50,000 in that account. How did you do that?" Keep in mind, they tell the new guys that it's real. It's not like this guy is aware of the fact that it was play money and he was taking risks that maybe he wouldn't with real money. They think it's real. So he's just casually coming in like, "Oh, I just lost 50 grand. It doesn't matter." And so they're asking him, like, why did he do that? How did he do that? Like, how is he not freaking out? And he just kind of shrugs his shoulders and goes, "I know sometimes you got to spend money to make money, huh?" Yeah, dude, but you're not opening a business. That's not like a saying for investment banking. Your only job is to take money and turn it into more money. That's literally it. That is literally your only job. Spending money to make money applies to like advertising for a business, you know, maybe buying new equipment, getting a new website or something. It doesn't necessarily apply to like investment banking. "Oh, hey, I took all of the money you gave me to invest and I spent it all. We're not going to get any of it back, but I will say that it was sweet. And if you're asking why I did it, you got to spend money to make money. So somewhere along this line, we're going to make the money back because I spent it and it's going to be a good time." Like, that's just not how it works. The boss, though, knows that Eric isn't just like the standard guy, and because it is $50,000 in fake money, he has to be careful because he doesn't want him to go to his boss and get him fired. So he says that he's going to give him an additional $50,000. Tells him it's real money, you know, it's not, but makes it very clear to Eric that this is real. And he says, "Okay, I'll be careful, just put it in my account," and he walks out before anything else can be said. And Mark looks at his boss and is like, "Why did you give him another $50,000, you know? Why are you doing all this?" And he says, "Well, the guy just lost $50,000 in 30 minutes, so when I inevitably have to fire him, and I have to have that conversation with my boss, who's his dad, I have to make sure that I have some pretty good reasonings as to why that went down. And if the kid manages to lose 100 grand in the first 2 weeks of working here, I feel like that's a pretty good reason." And it stinks that, like, that's the way the world works sometimes. You have to have double extra proof that somebody's not cut out for the job because of who their parents is, bro. Parents are. Sorry, that was just a real bad English moment. But you guys get what I'm saying. Like, if this was anybody else and you managed to lose $50,000 in 30 minutes, they probably just would have escorted you out. It's not like you would have gotten another chance at that point. But maybe, just maybe, Eric got off to a bad start. He can pull it out. Nope, absolutely not. 2 days later, Eric runs out of money and storms in asking for more. And Mark happened to be in the office that time too, and his boss says, no, you need to have a seat, Eric, we have to talk. And he tells him that they're going to have to let him go because it's just not working out. He had lost $100,000 in a week. He had refused to listen. It's just not going to work. And Eric just starts going absolutely ballistic, you know? How dare you ignore my talent? I'm going to be the best stock investment man of all time. What talent are they ignoring, man? The talent would be if you were good at making money. You actually did the exact opposite. You somehow found a way to do the exact opposite. So the boss doubles down and says, hey, it's just not going to work. You're not cut out for this type of stuff. And Eric, of course, pulls out the big guns. Do you have any idea who my dad is? And the boss is very blunt and says, it's not going to work. I would not recommend getting your dad involved. And Eric gets up, pulls out his phone, and starts yelling that, you know, just wait till my father hears about this. Some straight up Charlie and the Chocolate Factory level stuff. And storms out. And they see him out in the parking lot on the phone talking, and he's super animated, so you can tell he's just pissed off. And he hangs up and comes back in all smug and says that, like, my dad's gonna come in and talk to you about this. And the boss doesn't get scared. He just smiles and says, all right, man, I told you wouldn't want to get your father involved, because he had just fallen into the trap card, bro. Like, now he gets to explain to your dad how bad you are at this. And about an hour later, a dude in a suit comes in, clearly a very important fellow, and he's like, hi, I'm blank, I'm here to meet with your manager. And they go into this room, and Eric and Mark are called in since Mark witnessed everything and Eric's involved. And the dad opens extremely pissed off. Rip, I thought I could trust you to train my son. He says you didn't train him and you set him up to fail to make an example out of him. Like, you should have given him some training. It's not his fault he couldn't perform since he wasn't trained. And the boss doesn't let Eric's dad finish before he has the forms out. He doesn't interrupt him, but as he's speaking, he pulls the forms out. And as the dad, like, finishes his little rant about how no one trained him, he hands him the papers and he says, well, here's the 2 papers that he signed saying that he did not want our training and that we were not to get involved with him at all. And I think, what was it? And he looks at Eric, buzz off, is that what you said? And Eric kind of like, eyes go wide and he realizes, oh crap, this might not go the way that I thought it was going to go. And his dad's face changes and he looks at Eric and he's like, Eric, why did you say that you didn't want help? Like, why did you do this? And even then, you denied it from 2 people. Like, why did you go out of your way to sign these? And Eric, still a little bit embarrassed, but not like fully gone of his ego, decides to double down. I know what I'm doing, Dad. I don't need training. And it's at that point that it registers, oh, my kid did this to himself. Like, this is not their fault. Very obviously, there's a problem here. And so he kind of starts trying to double down and says that his trades were making all this money and they don't know where, like, the idea that he isn't performing comes from. And his boss says, all right, well, let's just pull up your account. And Mark smiles because he knows that this account is going to be just the worst managed thing of all time. And sure enough, he pulls it up, puts it on this big screen for everyone to look at, and he had managed to lose $100,000 somehow before the first week had ended. And he pulls up every transaction. They go over them all, explaining like where it was, how much money it lost. And something that you have to realize about the stock market is like a broken clock is still right twice a day. You know, the time is still that twice. So even if you're just dumb and you're gambling, eventually you should be able to have a profitable trade. Overall, you'll definitely lose money, but everyone could have like doubled their money one time if you're just throwing money into random stuff. This guy had somehow managed to lose money on every trade, which is almost more impressive. Like, he somehow actually beat the odds of straight up gambling at being bad. That's going above and beyond. That means he wasn't just picking random stuff. He was putting research in and just being wrong every single time. So it takes a while, but they finally get to the end of all these transactions. And Eric is sinking into his chair the entire time because he realizes what's going to happen. But now his dad is pissed off too. And he turns to Eric and he's like, you told me you were doing good and they weren't teaching you anything. And Eric, not realizing how dumb this sound goes, well, it would have been fine if they went the opposite direction. Yeah, that's not really how it works, you know? If you put money in a company expecting it to go up and it goes down, you can't go, man, 50-50 chance, like you still lost money. It's not just a coin flip. And so at that point, his dad turns to Mark and his boss and starts apologizing and is like, I'm so sorry, I get it, I understand that Eric can't work here anymore. And Eric interrupts his dad and is like, what about my job? I need to work. And his dad now is fully embarrassed. Remember, he drove away from his job to come down here and like try to get involved and keep his son's job. And he says that he's just been embarrassed enough. Eric blew this opportunity. He's not going to go to bat for him anymore. And Eric starts looking like the whole world just landed on his shoulders, bro. The first time he had heard no in his life, the first time he had ever failed, and they end up leaving. But the entire time, the boss is like super apologetic, which is good on him. I feel like most people probably would have either been mad or been embarrassed and just fled as fast as possible. At least he had the awareness to realize that it was his kid's fault. Either way, I am going to give credit to Mark's boss for knowing exactly how that was going to go down. He's like, look, we need the forms. We need to make sure that we got enough proof to show that it's really not going to work, because he did exactly what he thought he was going to do. Eric, a little bit of advice, man. There's plenty of ways to be very successful that don't involve like working and investing. You know, there's tons of people that make a lot of money not in investment banking. I think you're going to have to be one of those people. You sound extra bad at investing. It's not for everybody. Either way, that's the first story that I have for today's video. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate you pressing the like button, and let's get on to the next. Alright, before we get into the next story time, on screen now is a gift card code. I give one of these away in every video. Just say thank you to everyone who's subscribed with those notifications on. So if you haven't already, you might as well just scroll down there, subscribe, turn on those noties, and if you already are, then you're a legend. You already know. So yeah, I'll shut up and let's get into the next story. Alright, this next one was sent in to me by somebody named Max, who works at a store in the mall. And it's like one of the 4 stores in every mall that sells the exact same stuff, but they all have different names and they're all a different company, but they sell the exact same thing. And it was right around back to school time, and it just so happened that this mall still is a madhouse. I was kind of surprised it still gets busy there. I feel like everyone just does the online shopping thing, but people are everywhere. It's packed. Some people are like just throwing clothes up in the air just to try to make a distraction while they run for the exit. It's been a crazy day. And this guy comes in with his mom, and something is very weird about the way they're staring at him. It's almost like they're sizing him up, and he doesn't know them. He's just working. And he walks up to them because they're staring at him, and he's like, hey, can I help you guys with anything? And they both look at him, very clearly look at his name tag, and then go, Max! And he's confused because, like I said, he has no clue who these people are. Like, 100% does not know them. And so he tries to, like, nicely ask, hey, who are you guys? It's been a while. I don't really recognize you. You look so different. And the spoiled kid, who I'm just going to refer to as spoiled kid, goes, Max, are you kidding me? Come on, it's me, bro. And Max is just kind of standing there staring at him. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm confused. And he, instead of explaining who he is, saying a name or anything, goes, oh, Max, it's totally cool. Anyway, since we're old friends, can I use your employee discount? And it clicks. Oh, they were sizing me up because they were like, I bet you we can trick that guy into letting us use his employee discount. He probably thought that most people in a very awkward situation like this wouldn't want to admit, bro, I don't know you, so they would just be nice and let you use the discount. I don't know, that still seems like a long shot, but either way, Max is like, I don't know these. So now that he realizes that they're trying to mess with him, he decides that he's going to troll them back. Because look, if you're going to make me pretend to know you to try to get a discount, like, I feel like trolling them back is just allowed. And so Max, not wanting to get played, says, anyways, I'm more than happy to let you use the employee discount, but our policy is that you have to know my mom's name. Like, that's how close we have to be. And the kid and the Karen look at each other like deer in headlights and are shocked. And the spoiled kid's like, oh, come on, Max, there's no need for that. Like, come on, we go way back. And it's not even a rule. Like, he totally made that up. He just wanted to mess with them. And so Max decides to mess with them a little bit further. He has this woman manager that's a little bit older who's insanely chill, like the best manager to work with, super fun, great. And they kind of have fun trolling rude customers from time to time. And so he calls her over and she comes over and he's like, hey, do you recognize them? And she says no, because obviously she doesn't. And the spoiled kid, who, keep in mind, goes way back with Max, definitely knows his mom's name but isn't going to say it right now, goes, oh, who is this? And Max takes this chance to mess with him and goes, dude, it's my mom. Don't you know her? And you would have thought that the two of them saw a ghost. They were like, so great to see you. And like I said, this manager's super chill and fun to work with, so she kind of rolls with it and is like, oh, are you a friend of Max's? It's so great to get to know people that are friends with my son. And they start freaking out, and they're like, well, yeah, it's so great to see you. And so Max says, yeah, they say they know us, Mom. Where do we know you from? And once they start asking questions, the mom grabs her son by the arm and says, whoops, we were mistaken, let's go. And before they can peel out of there, which is clearly their intention, Max, wanting to just like drive home the embarrassment a little bit, goes, oh, you were mistaken? Well then, why did you say my name? Like, you said my name, you know? How would you be mistaken if you knew my name? And they both just get really bright-eyed and don't say anything and just run out of the store. They don't literally run, but you know that like hurried walk that people do when they've clearly got somewhere to be, but it's inappropriate to run in public? I'm just saying, if I see an adult running in public, outside of like literally running clothes, like if someone's running in running clothes, you know what's happening. But if you ever see a dude in a suit just sprinting, I'm just gonna assume that whatever is that direction is scary. Like, because why is a dude in a suit sprinting that way? Either way, that was stupid. I apologize. I don't know. They leave. Him and the manager crack up, but then they start talking about it, and they're like, I don't really even understand the point. You're just gonna confuse me into thinking I know you for like a 10% off code? Like, dude, just go online and look one up. If anything, I feel like it's easier to get those discount codes online rather than going in and trying to convince someone that you're old childhood friends. Super sick that you have a manager that just kind of lets you troll customers though, you know? Like, most managers would be like, that's so inappropriate! Alright, and the last story I have, yeah, that's right, there's another one. You know what? I'm gonna do it again. Press the like button, because we're 26 minutes in and I still got another one. Anyways, this is from something that I witnessed. So I end up going to this restaurant with a few of my friends, which is like downtown in the town I live in, and there's always something dumb going on downtown in the town I live in. In the town I live in. Why did I like just do a country song stutter right there? I apologize. Anyways, we walk in and we see like a huge 1 in 8 balloon, and we assume that someone is either turning 81 or 18, because those are the two combinations right there, and we don't see a ton of old people, so we just assume there's gonna be a birthday party. And we walk past it in the lobby, and after that, I kind of forgot it existed. It's not like it was something that I really was sitting there thinking about. Who really cares? People have birthdays, people have balloons. It's not a big deal. It's just funny because it involves later the spoiled kid having to like sadly take the balloons out. Anyways, we start like eating our meal and we're just having ourselves a normal conversation, and all of a sudden we hear this commotion behind us. It's like a ton of screaming, and we turn around and we see this guy holding the balloons, and he's yelling, "It's my birthday!" And it's not like in a celebratory, like, it's my birthday way, you know, it's a very angry, it's my birthday, like he's telling somebody off, a very angry man. And the entire restaurant gets really quiet because obviously everyone's turning their attention to this and kind of like, hold on, let's see what's going on. I'm not saying that reality television is just based on society, but I think if people start making a scene, the natural human reaction is to just watch. I think that's why reality TV does well, because it's just people making a scene all the time. Anyways, what's very apparent is he's yelling at somebody for ordering something that he doesn't like. Keep in mind, they're not ordering it for him. It's not like, oh, we only get to order one thing and we're all gonna share. There's a ton of people. They had just ordered something that they wanted to eat that he was not a fan of. And he's yelling at them because apparently it's insanely rude to order something that the host doesn't like if you're out at a restaurant, but you're not the host, you're at a restaurant, and on top of that, who cares? Like, that's so stupid, bro. There's some food that I'm not a fan of, but if I'm out to dinner with my friend and they order it, I'm not gonna be like, oh, are you disgusting? Do you know how rude you are? No, who cares? Like, people have different tastes, dude. Imagine getting yelled at because you ordered something someone else doesn't like. And of course, the person isn't really taking it, but they're not yelling back. The only reason we know is because the birthday boy just kept yelling, like, you can't argue with me on my birthday, are you crazy? Do you remember that old Tyler the Creator Vine where it's like, what, did you bring me a birthday gift for my birthday on my birthday to celebrate my birthday, and he smashes the wine glass? That was really the vibe of what was going on. Like, you can't argue with me, it's my birthday. I hate people that think their birthday just gives them an excuse to do whatever they want. Like, congratulations, it's your birthday. It is a special day. People should be nicer to you than normal. However, I do think some people take it too far and they're like, whatever, officer, who cares that I punched the police horse? It's my birthday. And it's like, you can't do that. You can't really scream at everybody and freak out on them just because it's your birthday. But whatever, everyone's just kind of watching, and the manager walks up at this point because he's realized everybody's watching. And then the birthday boy starts going off on the manager because it's his birthday. Who do you think you are? You can't tell me what to do. Do you have any clue what day it is? Yes, you can probably guess what day it is. I don't want to say it again. And you can't really hear the manager because he's not yelling, but he's trying to kick the party out. And the entire party, realizing that they're causing a scene and everyone's staring, they just get up and leave, except for the birthday boy. Like, they realize, all right, let's get out of here. This is insanely embarrassing. I don't want to be here. But the birthday boy stands there and keeps arguing, and it was like everyone hit their maximum embarrassment and left but him. He proceeds to start going in on the manager. I'm talking about every insult under the sun. He's calling him stupid, he's calling him poor, he's calling him just like a loser. You name it, he's hurling it at him, and he's taking it like a champ. Honestly, dude, this guy definitely grew up in a Call of Duty lobby because he was like, oh, that's it? That's all you got? I'm a stupid poor loser? Oh, okay, buddy. Yeah, all right, look at you. You're freaking out holding balloons, buddy. Like, what do you want me to do? Take this insult seriously? Anyways, he lets that out and the manager goes, happy birthday, get out, and walks away, which was just an absolute G move. And after that, the birthday boy stomps outside and starts yelling at everybody out there for leaving. He probably was like, oh, why'd you guys abandon me? But I'll tell you why, because you were freaking out and causing a scene for literally no reason, and everyone was staring at you because it's your birthday. I feel like after that, I would definitely not go to that person's birthday again. I probably wouldn't really hang out with them either. Like, dang, man, that's a little wild. At least this person's not, like, insanely old. Like, 18 is definitely too old to be doing this, but, like, at least it's not a 37-year-old. Like, at that point, you're just not gonna change. You know, I feel like people can change a ton when they're like, a young adult, like, 18, 20, 30s. Once you hit, like, 40, though, bro, like, how much change are you really gonna do? Maybe that's doomer of me, because I'm not that old yet. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I'd really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. If you also enjoyed, you should go ahead and comment. This was a really long one, so I'd appreciate the comment and the like. It just helps the video do better. And if you're new, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never miss out. And if you want to listen to this in a podcast form, I do post these on Spotify as a podcast. Feel free to check that out. And because the Christmas season is approaching, I'm going to take the time to plug the Christmas Karen sweater. Look at this thing. It's absolutely glamorous. Back again this year. So if you want to get the Karen Christmas sweater, I'll throw the link down below. No pressure. But on that note, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am, and today I've got a subscriber story that was sent in to me about this rich kid on their bus that ended up breaking his phone to try to flex on everybody, but it ended up backfiring. Regardless, I figured it'd be the perfect story for this channel, so that's what we're going to be doing today. But before we get into it, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam whatsoever. Someone's going to break your phone next time you're on a bus. And trust me, you don't want that to happen. And without further ado, let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as I've said before in story time, school buses are a pretty weird world, dude. It's like the only time when you're really, really young that you're unsupervised, and so it's this own little world of like kids trying to, you know, act tough at the bus stop and bully each other. You've got people just doing things on the bus they would never do anywhere else. Climbing under the seats, sliding up and down the aisles, dude, like trying their best to slam into the sides of the bus to make it flip. Just, it's absolute chaos on a bus. And one of the worst things that can happen on a school bus is somebody that just kills the vibe, dude. It's already bad enough that we've got to be going to and from school, alright? But the last thing you need to do is make it suck for everybody else. But I guess this subscriber had a kid on their bus in elementary school that loved to just flex on everybody, make themselves feel more important, just be like, hello, I am rich, and because of that, I am better than you. And on this particular day, this rich kid was on the bus bragging very, very loudly about how, it doesn't really matter what he wants, his parents will get it for him because his parents are rich and blah, 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 blah. And he's bragging about how, most people at their school aren't able to get a new phone every year, but his parents buy him a phone every year because they're just that rich and yada, 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 just kind of going on about how much better he is than everybody. And obviously some kids on the bus ended up telling him to shut up because nobody cares, right? Which is a pretty fair thing to say. If you're just kind of loudly for no reason saying out loud my dad is rich, he buys me things, someone's gonna tell you to shut up because chances are people don't care. But when this kid gets told to shut up, instead of, shutting up or realizing that he looks out of touch, he decides to start bragging even more. And he goes, oh, why? Are you jealous that my dad's rich and your parents are poor? It's not my fault that my parents work harder than your parents, okay? It just is what it is, and everybody is kind of annoyed with him. And then he reaches into his phone and he pulls out the new iPhone. And I don't necessarily know when this took place, but whatever, you get the idea. There's always that 1 month period right after the new iPhone comes out where everybody who gets it feels a little fancy. And so he pulls it out and he's like, look at this. Most of you guys don't even have a phone, but my parents bought me an iPhone because they love me and they're rich and blah, 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 blah. And my parents are better than your parents, yada, yada, yada. Still just kind of rubbing it in that he's rich and better than And then somebody on the bus, one of the people that's arguing back and forth with this kid who's just trying to make everybody feel bad, says something that's a pretty genius move to play, I can't even lie. He says, okay, so you say your parents will buy you anything, right? It doesn't matter what you ask for, they'll buy it for you. And he's like, yeah, because my parents are rich. And he goes, all right, so they just bought you that iPhone? And the kid once again pulls his iPhone out and starts bragging and is like, yeah, it's the new one, da-da-da-da-da. It cost $800. And that's when the kid goes, all right, well, if you're really telling the truth about how rich you are and how your parents will buy you anything, then break the phone. Just break it. And if you break it and your parents are super rich, they'll just buy you a new one, right? That'll make us all shut up. Because right now, it just seems like you're bragging and trying to make us feel bad. But, if you really got it like that, then break your phone. If you really don't care and they'll get you anything. And as soon as he says that, the kid's face changes into something that's not very hyped, bro. Kind of uh-oh, I might have made a mistake here by getting myself into this situation. And everybody else that's on the bus and is kind of arguing with him now because he turned this into a group project. Homie really could have had the 1v1, had to get the bus involved, dude. It's kind of yeah, no, break it. If you're really so rich and your parents will buy you anything, then it just shouldn't be a big deal to get you another iPhone, right? Right? And everybody kind of starts to do that thing from Nemo, and they're like, mine, but it's just that kind of telling him, no, break your phone, seriously. Come on, if your parents are so rich and they won't care and they'll buy you anything, do it. And the entire bus is kind of getting involved. And the rich kid is kind of obviously not saying a whole bunch. He's turning red probably from the embarrassment, but he doesn't want to look like he's not rich. He's been telling everybody how much they suck because they don't have iPhones. And so instead of just deciding to say something along the lines of, I'm not going to break it, that's ridiculous, whatever, you guys can believe what you want, I have an iPhone, yada, yada, yada. This kid, wanting to look as cool as humanly possible, make everybody feel bad about the fact that they didn't have a phone cooler than him, goes, fine, I will destroy it, and my parents will buy me a new one, I don't even care. And so he turns into the aisle and puts his phone on the ground, takes the curb of his foot or the heel of his foot and just starts to curb stomp his phone over and over again. And he does it with the glass side up, and 3 kicks in, there's finally just a big crack across the screen. And as soon as there's a crack across the screen, dude, you would have thought that everybody on the bus just witnessed a horrible accident. They're like, oh my god, he broke it. No, he broke his phone. Dude, the screen's broken. The screen's broken. You had other people with their phones, the other people that did have phones, filming this kid breaking his phone. Because for some reason, when you're young, breaking electronics entertains you. I don't know if this was just me, but I used to look up smashing Xbox 360 just because I thought it was entertaining. So obviously everybody's just staring at this rich kid who's just stomping his phone, and as he's stomping it, his face starts to contort into regret, mid-stomping it. Once it breaks, it's ah, crap. You can see that he starts to kind of have to hold back the tears. He's not too happy with what he did. Probably because the reality's kicking in that, his parents probably are not gonna buy him a new phone, dude. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't care how rich I am. If I'm literally a billionaire, if I got my kid a brand new phone and he went to school the next day and broke it to try to impress people and say how rich he was, yo, that sucks, dude, but I'm not getting you a new phone. So anyways, he stomps on it for a bit, picks it up, and he's telling everybody he doesn't care. The look on his face obviously means he cares, dude. Homie looks like he's about to cry the entire time, but he swears, I don't even care. He puts his broken phone in his pocket and says, watch, tomorrow I'm gonna have a new one. Like, I'm gonna have a new one tomorrow. You guys don't even worry about it. My parents are rich. They'll buy me whatever I want. And honestly, most people on the bus are making fun of him for being an idiot destroying his phone, but they're also like, wait, maybe he's telling the truth, dude. Like, maybe this dude's really about to get a new iPhone, because he just did it with so much confidence. Like, you would think if you were not 100% sure in that scenario, you're not gonna destroy your phone, right? Maybe that's just me, but if I'm not 1000% positive that I have a phone in the mail tomorrow, I'm not curb stomping and destroying my phone. And if you want me to be honest, even if I had one in the mail, why would I curb stomp and destroy a perfectly good phone? It just doesn't make sense. But the fact that this guy just did it so willy-nilly has some kids thinking that he's telling the truth, right? So whatever, they go about the day, and pretty quickly at school, everybody starts to hear about this. You know, everybody's starting to talk about the guy that broke his new phone on the bus, the guy that shattered his phone on the bus, yada, yada, yada. Alright guys, I'm going to interrupt the video for just 1 second. If you take a look at your screen, you'll see an Xbox gift card. For those of you that don't know, I give one of these away in every single video I post here on the channel as a way to say thank you to y'all for subscribing and turning on those notifications. So if you haven't done that, you should, and press the like button and comment down below. Go ahead and comment the word Apple down there if you haven't yet. Just helps me hit recommended, and on that note, I'll shut up. Thanks. Anyways, at school, he's even telling the story, but he's embellishing it. Like, you know, obviously he stomped on his iPhone. It is what it is. It's cool, I guess, but he's telling everybody that, like, they told me that I didn't have the money, so I whipped out my phone, did a 720 no-scope, was spinning it like a Beyblade, and then kicked it out the window. He's just making it sound way cooler than it is, and a lot of people are making fun of him, and he's showing everyone the phone, and it just kind of becomes like a big deal at school. There wasn't a lot going on, so, you know, smashing an iPhone was the biggest deal at the time. And so, obviously, everybody is starting to, like, take bets, not literally, but bets about, you know, oh, do you think he's going to get a new one? Do you think they're going to buy him a new phone? Do you think they're going to buy him a new phone? And a lot of the school is like, yeah, I think so. If he smashed it, probably. But it's pretty divided. You got two camps. One that thinks it's going to be hilarious tomorrow when he comes to school with no iPhone, and the camp that's like, no, he's going to get it. So the next day, obviously at night, no one really knows what's going on. They don't all live together. But the next day, obviously at the bus stop, people are hyped. They are very, very excited. And they're waiting, and the kid who broke his iPhone just never comes. They go to school. Sure enough, he's not there that day either. And they're like, okay, well, he's not here. Does that mean he got in a bunch of trouble? Does that mean that, you know, his parents took him on vacation? Like, what does this mean? And so everybody's kind of theorizing that entire day when he's not there about what it is, dude. People are saying, like, maybe he got kidnapped by aliens. You know, maybe Steve Jobs himself flew down from heaven and gave him an iPhone. Just like people are theorizing literally everything. But sure enough, the next day comes, everybody's standing there hyped at the bus stop, and up walks the kid who smashed his iPhone. And people are trying to talk to him, and he's like acting like he can't hear them. Yo, dude, did you get a new phone? Did you get a new phone? Did you get a new phone? And he's just kind of looking straight down, not replying to anyone. He's not trying to engage with anyone. He's just trying to avoid it. And everybody's kind of like, yo, did you get a new phone? Did you get a new phone? And he's like, we'll talk on the bus. We'll talk on the bus. We'll talk on the bus, right? So they get on the bus, and everybody crowds around his seat a little bit, obviously. And they're like, okay, well, what happened? And he goes, okay, so I go home, and I tell my mom that I broke my phone, and she asks how. So I tell her that a bunch of kids on the bus were saying that, you know, you guys wouldn't buy me a new iPhone if I broke it, so I decided to break it. And my mom said, well, you're dumb because we're not going to buy you a new phone. And then I started crying and freaking out because they should have bought me a new phone because I deserve it. And everybody on the bus kind of is like, yeah, you know, they don't agree at all. Obviously, if you smash your phone, you don't just deserve another one. And so me and my mom started arguing about it, and she called my dad and told him, and my dad was pissed, and he came home, and we got in a big argument. And yesterday I faked sick because I was so embarrassed about what happened about not getting a new phone. And half the people on the bus start cheering. They're like, he didn't get a phone, he didn't get a phone. And he starts to get beet red, embarrassed, you know, tears start to well up again, and he's like, yeah, but please don't tell anyone at school, like, you know, let's just not make this a big deal. And they're like, okay, well, will you show us your phone? And this dude pulls out a pink Razor flip phone from like way back in the day that belonged to his mom. And so obviously everybody starts roasting him immediately. It's bedazzled, dude. Just in terms of when you told everyone your parents were rich and gonna buy you a new iPhone and then you show up with a bedazzled Razor, you're gonna get made fun of. You can't expect anything else. And so, obviously, everybody's making this a big deal. He thought everyone was going to let it slide, but they get to school, and everyone's running around. Oh my god, he's got a pink Razor. His phone sucks. Oh my god, they didn't get him an iPhone. Ha ha ha. Everybody's making fun of him, dude, and obviously he's known as the guy that smashed his iPhone. And it got so popular at the school that even the teachers, like, stopped and were like, hey, did you get a new phone? Meanwhile, this dude's just crying while, you know, calling people with his bedazzled pink Razor. And I'm not even saying it's completely lame, you know, Razors are cool. But it's definitely not my parents are rich and will buy me a new iPhone whenever I want situation, dude. I don't even know why you would smash your iPhone if you knew they weren't going to get you one. Like, obviously, your parents were not going to get you a new iPhone if you smashed it. You knew that on the bus, but you still went through with it and curb stomped it anyways. No one made you do that, dude. It's not like they had a PlayStation controller that controlled your right leg and, like, made you continuously curb stomp the iPhone until it stopped working. I can't even imagine what the parents must have said in that moment. Like, obviously, there was more than just his little explanation, but imagine you're a parent. You have a job. You're working 40 hours a week, maybe even some overtime, dude. You save up money. You buy your kid an iPhone. You're like, wow, hopefully they appreciate this and treasure it. Next day, they come home. They're like, yeah, some kids said that we were poor, so I'm going to need you to buy me another $1,000 phone because I destroyed this one to teach them a lesson. Thanks, Pops. Work some overtime if you have to. I don't really care. I just need a new phone. Like, I literally could not imagine the blood boiling at that point, dude. Just being like, you did what? You did what? You did what? But I will also say, probably a really bad idea to, like, give an elementary schooler a new iPhone. Like, I can't say the parents were the sharpest tools in the shed. It looks like everyone in that family has the same, you know, thought process in terms of not at all. There's just none. Moral of the story, though, don't break your new iPhone to try to convince people that you're rich, because chances are it's going to backfire and you're just going to end up being made fun of and your parents are not going to buy you a new phone. That's my honest advice here. But anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I'd really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought. And, of course, subscribe if you're new and turn on notifications. If you really want to help me out, you can check out the intro song. A link to it can be found down below, along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast. And other than that, if you use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout, you get a discount on the best energy drink for gamers, and it helps me out too. And last but certainly not least, as y'all know, it's October, which means Halloween is quickly approaching, and you can get yourself some of the Halloween merch from the top link in the description. As you can see on screen, it's pretty fantastic. And, yeah, on that note, guys, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see each and every one of you guys next time with another video. I'm out. Peace.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am, and today I've got a story time for y'all I know you're gonna love, because it involves a spoiled kid getting absolutely dumpstered by his mom. This story time was sent in to me by somebody who works in a restaurant, and this insanely entitled kid and his friends came in and were acting like morons, not realizing that their mom was around, and I guess mom was not down with the antics and ended up embarrassing them in front of absolutely everybody. But it sounded like something you guys would enjoy, so I figured I'd make it into a video. So without further ado, let's go. Alright, so like I said, this person was working in a restaurant, and it was a nicer restaurant, but on this particular day, it was like the middle of a weekday, so it was super slow. There wasn't a lot of people in the restaurant, and you know, a group of dudes walked in that were older, like 18, 19, 20-ish. 5 of them came in and like immediately started giving off super douchey vibes. But because it was super dead, you know, they were kind of like, well, we'll sit them and make a little bit of money, because otherwise we're probably not going to have customers for a long time. But they were immediately giving off douche vibes because one of the first things they did once they walked into the restaurant was like toss a metal credit card at the host stand and then start tapping on it to get their attention. The host was kind of like, hey, how are they? You know, trying to make some small talk, ask them if, you know, they wanted to eat here, how many were in their table. But the guy like completely blew off the questions the host was asking and was like, well, my credit card is metal, so I'm going to assume my day is going better than yours. And then like looked at his friends and laughed, which, you know, as far as first impressions go, is way up there in terms of like pretty douchey. The person trying to sit you at this restaurant, how's your day? You, I have a metal credit card. Like, oh, okay, man, that doesn't really answer my question, but whatever floats your boat. So immediately off rip, these guys are just kind of acting entitled. But because the restaurant is so dead, they're like just gonna deal with it. So they get sat in this waiter section who sent this into me. And at that exact moment, the waiter was just kind of busy doing something their boss had asked him to do. And they was gonna finish up in about 10 seconds. So they just decided to finish what they were doing and go over there. Well, in the 10 seconds it took them to finish their task and start heading over there, I guess they had gotten annoyed. And when they saw him walking over, the guy in charge of the table, you know, with Mr. Metal credit card, started literally like snapping his fingers to get the waiter to come faster, which is just really annoying, bro. Don't snap at people. The guy literally took 10 seconds to finish what he was doing. He's walking over. There's no reason to be like,
Come faster, please, Mr. Sir. Get over here.
that's just demeaning, dude. Don't snap at me. Anyways, obviously it pisses him off, but he goes over there and is trying to, like, be nice about it. And before he can even open his mouth, he smiles and they cut him off. And the lead guy who had snapped his fingers, thrown the metal credit card, the whole shebang so far, opens up with, "All right, man, I'm gonna talk slow enough for you to understand, okay? We need the most expensive champagne you have here." And he, like, had this metal credit card and he taps it on the table, right? And now this guy's straight up annoyed because he had walked over trying to be nice. They started snapping at him. Now they're like, "We're gonna talk slow enough for you to understand," demanding that he grab the most expensive stuff. So he's not gonna try to, like, make small talk anymore, but if they want the most expensive bottle of champagne, it's kind of his job. So he says he's gonna need to see some ID. And the kid, like, smiles and goes, "Oh, ID? Here you go," and hands him the credit card. And the waiter looks down and is, like, looking at this metal credit card that this kid has given him, which is apparently his ID, and he's like, "This is not an ID." And the kid's response is to, like, scoff a little bit and go, "Yeah, but do you have any idea how much money I could charge to that credit card?" And the waiter is like, "Yeah, I bet you a lot. You know, it's very heavy, it's cool, but it doesn't really matter because I still can't sell you alcohol without an ID. It doesn't matter how much money you can charge to your card." And the kid's response is like, "Well, if you don't want to make money, that's on you, bro." And the waiter's like, "It has nothing to do with me not wanting to make money, man. I just don't want to break the law and get in trouble or be fired." And he's like, "Well, whatever, man. It's fine. I get it. Just do us a favor then and get us 5 steaks. They better all be medium rare, okay?" And, like, you know, the waiter's like, "All right, bro, okay, let's go from most expensive bottle of champagne to 5 steaks, whatever floats your boat, Mr. Metal Credit Card." And he writes it down, you know, and takes the order to the kitchen to drop it off. And he goes to take them water after that, and he drops off their water, and he's like, "Can I get you guys anything else to drink?" And the douchey kid looks at him and goes, "Excuse me, dude, do you see that we're in the middle of a conversation? Can you just leave us alone, please?" And once again, the waiter is, like, flabbergasted at how rude these kids are being, right? Just insanely entitled, just no reason to be acting like this. And so he walks away, and his manager walks up to him and is like, "Bro, what is the issue with these dudes?" And he's like, "Honestly, I don't know, but I've never had more entitled customers before. Like, they're just telling me to leave them alone, snapping at me, they're not letting me talk. It's annoying." So the manager's like, "All right, we'll just let them be till their food comes out, and, like, you know, you won't have to deal with them for very longer. We probably shouldn't have sat them, but it's too late now." And so he waits a little bit. Obviously, the steaks eventually get ready, and so he takes it over, and they're, like, laughing as he's bringing the food over. And the spoiled kid is like, "Dude, you're actually a moron, man. We never told you that we wanted 5 steaks." And the waiter is, like, confused if they're trying to mess with him, if they realize they didn't have enough money to pay for it. Like, he didn't really understand what they were doing because they definitely had ordered it. And so he's like, "Well, you guys ordered it, so I don't really understand." And the kid's like, "No, we didn't order it, dude. Can you even prove it?" And the waiter is super confused, but is like, "Yeah, I can," and pulls out his little notepad and shows them where he had written it down, you know? And they're like, "Okay, fine, we ordered it. We were just trying to mess with you, bro." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that was really funny." You know, just, like, super deadpanned, obviously not amused by it because it's just not a very funny joke. I just don't really understand the joke there, to just very obviously order something and then try to, like, convince them you didn't order it. "Wow, bro, that's sick. No way. How'd you do that? I just said something and then just pretended that I didn't say it when you brought me what I asked for." Like, I just don't understand how it's a joke. But they follow up pretending that they didn't order the steaks by being like, "Well, they're cooked wrong anyways." Keep in mind, they haven't even had the food placed in front of them or taken a bite yet. They just know by looking at it that it's cooked wrong. And he's like, "Are you guys serious?" And they kind of snap about how, yes, they're serious. This is supposed to be a nice restaurant. Who is he to be questioning them? They needed it to get fixed. And he's like, "All right, guys, I'll go fix it for you, you know?" And he smiles a little bit, and he's just trying to kill him with kindness, and he tells tells him he's gonna get fixed, and he walks back into the kitchen, and just to decide to see if they're just being jerks for no reason, he just kind of like put it under this the lamps that keep food warm, stood there for 2 minutes, and then came back and gave them the exact same steak. Which, listen, I understand is not the most pro waiter move, okay? Probably not the most MLG waiter move. That being said, bro, if people were treating you like this and like demanding that you go fix their food when they haven't even tried it yet, I probably would be petty enough to do the same thing. I'm not saying I'm above this. But of course, he was just kind of testing to see if they were just trying to cause problems to cause problems. So he goes and gives them the exact same steak. Exact same steak. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Same steak. Sorry, my goodness. And wow, wouldn't you know it, somehow magically it's much better. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, you guys are just being jerks. It is what it is. Anyways, at that point, he goes away and is just gonna let them eat and was just gonna leave them alone and not deal with it. But he is just looking around the restaurant and he sees what appears to be a very angry woman walking up to the host stand. And they had had a shift change, so now it's a hostess at the host stand. And she's talking to the hostess and looks super pissed off. You know, like really, really mad, red in the face, like spit flying out the mouth. And the waiter is just like, wow, I don't know what this lady's angry about, but we're about to have a Karen encounter at the exact same time that these spoiled kids are here. This is crazy. But the hostess turns around and she doesn't look scared at all, so he's kind of confused. And then he sees the hostess point at the table which all these kids are at. And he sees the Karen like starting to stomp over, looking very angry, and she gets over to the table and starts yelling, "So you took my credit card to impress your friends, huh?" And all of a sudden, everyone at that table just turns as white as a ghost, bro. Like, their souls are literally leaving their body in that moment, you know? The imposter has been revealed among us. Oh, that was a corny joke. I'm sorry for making you guys listen to that. Anyways, but the mom keeps yelling at them like, "Why do you always do this? Oh, and you got everyone steaks. How nice." And she's reaming into him about how, you know, it's not okay for him to take the credit card and buy expensive stuff to impress people without her permission. And at this point, she is causing a scene. It's pretty dead. There's not a lot of people in there, but still, it's not a good look for the restaurant to have this screaming going on. So the manager goes over and asks what's happening. And the mom is like, "Well, it looks like my son stole my credit card and decided to leave and get his friend's lunch, hoping that I wouldn't notice." And the manager is obviously on the mom's side, because how could you not be? You know, like, I feel like taking your mom's credit card to buy all your friends food, already not a good move. Going to like a steakhouse to do it? Come on, bro. Like, 100% on the mom's side. It's just wrong to take anyone's money to pay for stuff. It's not yours. It's especially wrong to take your mom's credit card and buy everybody steaks, dude. And the manager tells the mom, which probably he shouldn't have, but he did want her to know, that like, oh, he also had tried to buy a $300 bottle of champagne, but he didn't have an ID. And at that point, this entire group just looks insanely embarrassed. They're all turning red, and the spoiled kid is like, "Mom, stop." And the mom pops off and is like, "Don't you dare tell me to stop. You need my credit card now. I'd be careful about talking back. You have $400 worth of food here and apparently tried to buy a $300 bottle of champagne. Why would you do that? You're not even 21. Like, you knew they were gonna ID you." And at that point, one of the other kids in the friend group is like, "Listen, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it." Because obviously, everyone else is embarrassed. I'm not sure if they knew this dude had taken his mom's credit card or not. I don't know if they thought that, like, it was his credit card. But obviously, they're getting yelled at in the middle of this restaurant. Everyone's staring. So one of his friends is like, "Listen, I'll pay. Like, I'll pay. It's okay. I'll pay." And the mom's like, "Oh, at least one of your friends has a job. Maybe you should think about getting one of those too. If you had a job, you know, you wouldn't need to steal my credit card." And at that point, everybody's just like cringing watching this situation go down. And the manager decides to tell them like, "Okay, guys, like, come on, please don't yell in the restaurant. You know, you guys have to go." And she's like, "All right, that's fair. That's fair. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make a scene." And he's like, "It's okay, but like, I'm gonna have to ask you guys to go now." And the friend that had offered to pay handed the manager the credit card, so they paid. They didn't leave any tip, which, hey, bro, I feel like after you cause a scene like that, that's the least you could do is leave a tip. But, you know, as long as they were leaving the restaurant, nobody really cared. And so everybody leaves, and all of his friends are gone insanely fast. They all get in their cars and leave. So it's just the mom and the kid outside now kind of talking on their way to the car a little bit. And everybody in the restaurant at that point is still watching them like through the window, right? And the staff starts laughing because it's just like, "Oh man, imagine how embarrassing, bro. Not only did you take your mom's credit card, but she catches you and yells at you in front of everyone. One of your friends has to pay." It's just a funny situation. So the staff is like laughing, right? Well, they're in front of the restaurant and the son turns around and looks through the window and sees everyone staring and the staff laughing, and he yells something. And then his mom looks back and she sees everybody staring and laughing, and so she waves and smiles, and the son starts like running to the car, so she turns and starts to follow him to the car.
bar. And so obviously it's a big scene. Everybody gets back to normal, gets all the other customers taken care of, but then everyone's like in the back of the restaurant talking, and everyone's just making fun of the situation, obviously. You know, it's like normal for people in this restaurant to come in acting like they own the place, or acting like they own the place, sorry. You know, oh, I'm so important, look at me, I'm blah, 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 I'm a lawyer, I'm da-da-da-da-da. Usually, you know, people do that on a daily basis. That being said, it's usually their credit card that they're trying to flex with. It doesn't matter either way. Whether it's yours or your mom's, still cringe. But at least they didn't steal their mom's credit card. This dude had really come in acting like he owns the place, bossing everyone around. And then his mom had to come in and destroy his ego because he had taken her credit card, bro. Double embarrassing. You know, he had already taken a large enough L, but somehow, ladies and gentlemen, the L just gets larger. Because, you know, remember, his mom had called him out for not having a job. Along with not having a job, he had taken his mom's credit card. So to solve a two birds in one stone type of problem, his mom decided she would teach him a lesson by making him go in the next day and show up at the restaurant with his resume to solve the problem of job, and embarrassing him so that way he learned to stop stealing her credit card, dude. The subscriber who sent this in to me wasn't there, but the manager was, and he took his resume at the front and was like, oh, well, why do you want a job? And the guy apparently wouldn't look him in the eye, sure douche a lot. He like would not look him in the eye, right? He literally was avoiding eye contact, and he's like, his mom was making him get a job because he needed to learn the value of money, and she had also said that he had to apply here, otherwise she was gonna make him move out. And at that point, the manager literally starts laughing at him because it's just like so cringe, right? He wasn't trying to make him feel bad, but the entire situation was just so absurd. Like, it is a good lesson, you know, but obviously they weren't gonna hire him after that one. I don't think stealing your mom's credit card is the best first impression for a boss, dude. What did you expect him to say? Go ahead and hop on the cash register. You're clearly not afraid of stealing from your mom. There's no way you'd steal from us. Like, I just don't think any manager's gonna hire you after that. Good luck. It is good that he's getting a job. I just don't know if that place is gonna be the place to hire him. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a second chance, but you know, that's like a bank robber just going back and getting a job at the bank, only on a much smaller scale. He's not a bank robber. Now that would be a crazy story time. There's like a bank robber robbing a bank, and his mom comes in and is like, you knock this off. That's my gun you're using to rob this bank. Anyways, obviously, you know, he went ahead and left after that once he was getting laughed at, which was not a bad idea, to be honest. I probably would have done the same, but the manager ends up telling the person who sent this in to me on the next shift what went down and just how awkward it was. And everybody to this day still laughs about it at that restaurant, and like, if anybody is kind of being embarrassing or entitled, they call him Metal Credit Card Kid, just because that story is just, you know, a pretty good way of describing how entitled some people be getting sometimes. Overall, I would say if you have a metal credit card, good for you. You got the bands. But it doesn't mean you can just like do whatever you want, bro. Even if it's yours. Even if it's yours, man, you still can't do whatever you want. But you especially can't do what you want if it's your mom's credit card. Yo, what's up, guys? Yeah, this is my mom's sick credit card. Isn't it pretty dope? Like, oh man, flexing mom's credit card is pretty cringe. I will say though, shout out to the mom for at least doing something about it. Making him go in and apply for a job there the next day is pretty genius, and hopefully dude learned his lesson. I feel like that level of embarrassment, he had to have learned something from it. But yeah, anyways guys, I think that'll do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please smash the like button, please. Okay, go press it. Okay, I'm desperate for likes out here, dude. And if you made it this far, go ahead and comment metal credit card. It just helps the video do better, and I would appreciate it. And other than that, if you're new, be sure to press that subscribe button. I post videos like this pretty often, so you never want to miss out. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and you know, last but not least, if you want to listen to these story times offline without gameplay, whatever floats your boat, I do post the audio version on Spotify. Link will be down below, so feel free to go check that out. And yeah, on that note, guys, that'll officially do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here. Today I've got a shorter story time about a spoiled kid that got absolutely wrecked in one of America's favorite pastimes, dodgeball. I just thought it was kind of funny. I figured it would be something you guys would enjoy. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so like I said, today's story time is a little bit of a classic situation where someone got a little bit too big for their britches on one of the holiest days in school, which is dodgeball day, and ended up getting destroyed as a result. I would just overall recommend, if it is dodgeball day, laying a little bit low. Drawing attention to yourself unnecessarily just doesn't seem that worth it in any like sport where people are going to be hurling things at your face. But hey, I guess some people just have a different idea, and it started even before they were like out in the gym. Locker rooms are some of the worst places that have ever existed. You know, I'm very thankful I haven't had to be in one in a very long time because they just smell bad. People are going crazy because, like, it's just a room full of dudes and very little adult supervision. They're just punching each other in the head, dude. People are hurling deodorant over the lockers. Like, at least in my locker room, dude, people used to take the milk cartons full and just hurl them. And whoever they popped on, it was just bad luck. Like, it just sucked. And there was a spoiled kid in particular who was really annoying. His dad was known for, like, owning a couple car lots in town. And he was always talking about how he was the best athlete in PE because he was D1 bound. And there's nothing wrong with self-confidence. I think that's natural and normal. But this dude would, like, tear everyone down instead of just being confident in himself, you know? He'd be like, yo, I'm D1 bound and you're never gonna get a scholarship because you wear glasses. Like, it's like, all right, you can say you're D1 bound without insulting them, you know? Obviously, this didn't make him too popular with everyone because, you know, people don't like to be told that, like, they are stupid when you are really smart. You can just say you're smart without calling someone stupid. And people wanted to take him down a peg or two because it was very apparent to everyone that his head was the size of a very, very large planet. So when they went into the gym and saw that it was dodgeball that they were going to be playing, he became target number one. Basically, everybody was like, let's go. And it wasn't a coach that had kind of had the updated rule book given to him. It was an older guy who had gotten out the old, like, kickballs to use as dodgeballs, not the foam ones. And usually those are kind of banned for use in PE because they're known for being a little too heavy and large and, like, messing up people's faces and nose and whatnot. But the coach that they had in this PE was from a bygone time and, like, didn't really care about the fact that they weren't supposed to use them. He just thought that, like, whatever, dodgeball was better with the kickballs instead. He told everyone that they were going to be playing with these because the aerodynamics were better. That was the quote, you know. I'm sure theoretically a kickball moves through the air better than the little foam balls. But regardless, he said that if they were worried about getting hurt, then they should all just agree to throw softer. That way no one would get hurt. And obviously no one's going to be the person to step up and be like, hey guys, let's throw softer. And let's also agree that, you know, no one's going to be throwing softer. If there's a bunch of kickballs and you can throw it at someone's face, you're, like, going to if you're in a PE class. If you're not going to, people are going to be trying to do it to you. You know, it's just the reality of it. Regardless, everyone breaks into teams, and it just so happens that one of the people that's on the person who sent this to me team is the quarterback for the school. And even if you're not a football fan, quarterback's the person who throws the ball, so they tend to, like, be required to have a pretty solid arm on them. And he immediately is telling everyone that, like, I'm gonna nail the spoiled kid in the face, just watch. And he's not saying it quietly. He says it so loudly that the spoiled kid he's talking about overhears him, and he starts talking trash back, being like, there's no way you're gonna be able to knock me out because you have the arm of my grandma, you know? And listen, maybe it's me personally. My Oma had an arm, dude. She could throw a baseball through, like, a door, dude. Either way, the quarterback responded and was like, oh, you think I have the arm of your grandma, huh? Well, I guess we're gonna see how hard it's gonna hit you in the face. And he's like, yeah, there's no way you're gonna be able to hit me, bro. And I'm just gonna say it's not the best way to, like, make yourself not a target by talking more trash. Because regardless, the game started and there's, like, the charge of people towards the middle of the gymnasium. The gladiators just going to get smacked in the face by a couple dodgeballs. Everyone's throwing things everywhere. And the quarterback and the spoiled kids are just kind of like, or the spoiled kid, excuse me, are just kind of like sitting in the back staring off, waiting for a little bit of the game to develop, I guess. That sounds super cringe because it's just dodgeball, but they're just, like, letting the chaos go over. And a ball ends up rolling right up to the quarterback's feet. And immediately he decides that he's gonna, like, target the spoiled kid because he picks it up. So he starts running towards the middle of the gym to kind of get a little bit closer. And the spoiled kid is standing there, like, playing chicken with them, and he throws the ball. And by the grace of Grayskull himself, the ball does not manage to smack this dude in the face. But what it does is it zips past him, and I don't know if it was, like, feeling the air on the ball zipping past his face, hearing it go by. Whatever it is, he suddenly realizes it's not a good idea to let himself get hit in the face by this dude, so he starts literally running. That's right, literally sprinting away as the quarterback is grabbing another ball. You know, this guy who's going to be an insane D1 athlete was apparently so afraid of dodgeball that he's running around. And it's just not a good look for him. And when I say running, there's, like, nowhere to really run. You're just in the gym, so he's, like, running and trying to hide behind people on his team, and then, you know, they're not very cool with it. And at that point, the quarterback starts taunting him a little bit, as you do. He has another ball, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna get ya, I'm gonna get ya. And every time somebody would move, because they didn't want to be the person to get hit, he would like have to run, and so he would be like, oh, here it comes, and just kind of watch him freak out as he was running from cover to cover. And listen, it's just dodgeball. Like, if you're playing dodgeball, you're just gonna get hit with a dodgeball. There's nothing wrong with that. In my mind, you're making it even worse for yourself by like running and trying to use other people as cover, because if you just got hit with the ball, it would be over. And you know, like I said, he had kind of gotten into arguments with basically everyone in that class, so everyone had wanted to see this dude get wrecked during dodgeball, so most of the other team kind of stopped playing and was just kind of watching this go down, and obviously that meant like his team could also just watch it go down too. And like I said, it didn't help that he was trying to use them as cover. Like, this guy's about to hurl a dodgeball at him, and he's like, hey, let me hide behind you. Yeah, probably not, dude. If you've been talking trash to me relentlessly, I'm not taking the hit for you. And the coach during all this is supposed to be able to rein this in when things get out of control, but like I said, he's an old man, so he's literally like reading his newspaper, not paying attention. There's no way he couldn't have heard what was going down. Like, obviously he had to have heard at least a little bit of what was going down, but I think he just wanted plausible deniability if someone got hurt. The principal's like, what happened? Hey man, I don't know, I was reading my newspaper. He was just acting like nothing's going on, so the spoiled kid is still just kind of running around the gym, and eventually he runs out of people to hide behind, and he's just kind of left standing there in the middle of the gym with nowhere to go. And the quarterback still hadn't crossed the halfway line. Like, he wasn't literally chasing him around the gym, you know, he was still playing by the rules of the game, and he's like, listen, I've got you now, like, I'm gonna throw it at you. And the spoiled kid still in this moment, even after proving he's at least a little bit afraid by sprinting away from this dude as fast as humanly possible, is like, oh, go ahead and throw it, I know you have a weak arm, you won't even be able to hurt me anyways. And the quarterback is listening to this, even though he has nowhere to hide, and he gives him a chance to take it back. He goes, look, I won't throw this ball at you if you just admit that you're lame for running and that I'm a better athlete than you. And the spoiled kid's like, no, I'm never gonna say that, da-da-da-da-da, and he keeps running his mouth, so he just let the ball fly as hard as he could, as you should. It's dodgeball at the end of the day. And you gave him a chance, you know, you were like, look, I won't hit you in the face if you just admit that you were wrong. If at that point he decides to keep running his mouth, you throw the dodgeball at him, and it smacks him in the cheek. And this guy had to have been to an acting school. He had to have been hamming it up at least a little bit, because when this ball hits his face, he like launches himself up into the air, dolphin dive style, backwards. And truthfully, even the person who sent this to me is like, I don't think he threw it that hard. I think a little bit of him was like trying to ham it up and make it look bad so people would feel bad for him. But he, you know, like flies backward as the dodgeball hits him in the face, and everybody, as soon as it hits its face, starts being like, oh, as you do naturally. And he hits the ground and just starts going like, and it's just very fake. And no one's reacting, right? So he starts doing it like even louder. And the coach at that point finally puts down his newspaper. That's enough to get him to actually pay attention to what's going on. Someone just apparently screaming in pain. And he looks over and sees what happened. He goes, hey, what happened? And they're like, we were playing dodgeball and he got hit in the face. And he goes, hey, and he says the spoiled kid's name, walk it off. Which, you know, it's just like, just such a PE coach thing to do, bro. And at that point, everybody's just kind of watching it. No one's laughing. No one's really doing anything. And the quarterback, who had just smacked him in the face, went over to help him out. Like, he doesn't want to do him that dirty. But when he gets over there, he just naturally just goes, ooh, a little bit, because he realizes that the ball had left like a fat imprint on this dude's cheek, a pretty big bruise, where it had smacked into his face. And so he's like, listen, man, I'm really, really sorry. And he goes to help him up, and he does help him up at least a little bit. And the spoiled kid is trying his best to keep it cool, but it's like everyone can tell he's about to cry. And, you know, he's, oh, I'm fine. And he starts trying to walk it off, and he gets like 1 or 2 steps before tears start going down his face. And listen, dude, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't cry in this situation. You just get smacked in the face by a dodgeball that hard when you in your mind have been like the man and you're super confident. Not only does it hurt to get smacked in the face, but your confidence gets shattered too. Hey, you might tear up a little bit. And no one really wanted to like be mean to the dude, so they left him alone for a little bit because they figured that that had kind of taken care of his ego. It shouldn't be a problem now. And so they were all just kind of going about playing dodgeball because he had taken himself out of the game to go just sit and watch, and probably spending the rest of his class rethinking his life all over, you know, thought he would have been cool now, maybe learn to act a little bit differently. That's what they were hoping for. And like I said, nobody was giving him crap. There was no reason for him to get even angrier, but we'll see. Everyone goes back into the locker room and was like, well, that was crazy, dude. He got smacked in the face. And the spoiled kid still really hasn't said much, you know, he's just kind of keeping to himself. But finally he gets up and everyone's kind of watching watching him, and he walks over to where the quarterback's locker is, and he slams it closed, and the quarterback stands up, and he's got a good, like, foot and a half on the spoiled kid, and the spoiled kid, for some reason, sees this and is like, after how hard you just hit me in the face, like, we're gonna fight, we gotta throw hands, man, I just can't let you do that to me, and the quarterback is trying to stay calm. Keep in mind, he helped him up, he apologized, he's like, look, I understand you're mad, I'm not gonna get kicked off the football team so that you can get beat up. He's like, I'm gonna beat you up, I don't want to do it, I said I'm sorry for throwing the ball, we're good, I really don't want to fight you, like, listen, we can just be chill, we can put it behind us, I'm not getting kicked off the team for you, it's not worth it to me, throwing the dodgeball wasn't worth it, so if you're gonna punch me, then I guess just go ahead and punch me, but you know, like, I don't want to fight you. And the spoiled kid is almost confused by the reply, almost like he expected him to be like, alright, let's throw down, you know, everyone's just willing to put everything on the line no matter what. And he's like, well, look what you did to my face, man. And my response to that is, dude, if your like reasoning to fight this dude is that he really messed up your face with a dodgeball, why would you then want to fight him? Like, if him throwing a toy at your face could mess you up, what do you think his fist is gonna do, dude? Anyways, after at least looking tough and looking like he was gonna stand up for himself, he looks at the quarterback and he's like, you're lucky I'm gonna let it slide this time, you know? Usually I would go ahead and have to take care of this, but because you're being so cool about it, I'll let it slide. And in reality, he probably just thought about it for a second and realized, like, if I actually try to fight this dude, I'm gonna end up in the locker, you know? And like I said, it's hard to stay mad at somebody when they're like, I really don't want to fight you, man. Like, what, you're just gonna punch him in the face when they just told you, like, I really don't want to have to do this? So the spoiled kid ends up walking away, and everyone's still watching, but they're more cringing than they are intimidated. Like, he thinks that everyone avoiding eye contact and being quiet is because they're, like, afraid of what he just did, but in reality, what's going on is everyone's kind of like, oh, wow, that was uncomfortable, and just doesn't want to make eye contact at all. So whatever, they kind of go about their business, the bell rings, and they walk into the normal hallway with the rest of the students that didn't have PE that hour, and right off the bat, somebody is like, bro, what happened to your face? And obviously someone screaming, bro, what happened to your face, after everything that had just went down started getting people laughing, and that's when the spoiled kid got embarrassed and he started yelling at them back, stop laughing, you know, it's no big deal that I got hit in the face in dodgeball, like, at least I had the courage to get hit in the face. And everyone started being like, no you didn't, dude, you were running. And as soon as they started talking back, he literally grabbed his backpack and started running to the other class, like full on sprinting in the hall vibes. And honestly, after that, no one really gave him much more crap for it. Like, nobody mentioned it anymore. They thought that it was enough for him to get, like, laid out by a dodgeball and then have to go through that. You know, nobody really, like, wanted to give him a bunch of crap for it, thankfully, because they definitely could have. Regardless, the one thing that surprised me is you think this would have at least changed the entitlement a little bit. Like, made him maybe think twice before mentioning who his dad is or that he has a lot of money. Or maybe made him realize that, like, his athletic ability could always improve and there's no reason to be dunking on other people's athletic ability when you don't really have any, you know? But yeah, no, he still acts insanely entitled. Nothing's really changed in that regard, but the coach did get a talking to from the principal about how he can't let them play dodgeball like that anymore. So he at least told his parents, you know, because they definitely were the ones that went in and complained about that. Regardless, overall, I just recommend not talking trash if you can't back it up in sports. Hey, I'm not an Olympian, okay? I'm not beating anyone in any athletic competition. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying it's normal to not be an Olympian level athlete. Like, that's all right, dude. Not a lot of Americans are in shape, but you got to be aware of the fact that you're not in shape and be a little bit more self-aware and go like, hey, this dude that's literally got a position for throwing things very hard and far is probably going to be able to smack me in the face with a dodgeball a little bit harder than I could to him. Nothing wrong with that, man. You could have avoided getting smacked in the face. Regardless, overall, I just thought this was a funny story you guys would enjoy. If you did, be sure to press the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below, and of course, subscribe if you're new and turn on notifications. If you really want to help me out, I'll put a link down below to the intro song, a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, or you could use code Scrubby at the G Fuel checkout. Great way to get a discount on G Fuel. And yeah, other than that, two more things I gotta plug. I do post some of my content on Spotify, so if you want to check it out, listen without gameplay or whatever floats your boat, go ahead and do that. I'll put the link down below in the top of the description. Or you can get yourself the coolest merch to ever exist. You can do that by visiting the bottom link in the description. I would really appreciate that as well. And yeah, on that note, guys, that'll do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am, and today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a great story time for y'all. It involves a spoiled kid who is flexing to everyone that apparently his mom, lets him borrow the car all the time, and ends with him crashing it and everyone realizing his mom didn't know all along. I wouldn't recommend stealing your parents' car, probably a very horrible idea, but I knew it would be an entertaining story time, so without further ado, let's get into it. And press the like button or no joke, no scam, your kid's gonna steal your car one day and total it. Alright, so obviously we've talked about it before. When there's weird kids in your neighborhood, you don't really have much of a choice about it. And the person who sent this in to me happened to live next door to a kid whose parents worked all the time and they had good jobs. So there was a lot of money in the house, but because they were working all the time, they didn't really do a whole lot of the parenting thing. Like if you were to ask this kid the last time his parents told him how to treat anyone or, how to behave, he would just look at you like it was a foreign concept. Basically, their parenting game was this. Just buy him whatever he wants, and if anyone tells you that there's any issues, pretend that there are none. I wouldn't recommend that parenting style, I'm not a parent. I just feel like that's how you end up making a kid that steals your car and crashes it. But basically, this kid would just base his entire personality on showing off stuff that his parents had just bought him to all the other neighborhood kids, which was fine. Nobody really cared. He was just really obnoxious about it, because whenever he would show off his new stuff, he would just insinuate that everyone was jealous and act like everyone was jealous, even though no one actually was jealous. For example, when the hoverboards were a thing, those things everyone used to be scooting around on Vine back in the day, he had gotten one and was showing it off to everyone in the neighborhood, and it just so happened a bunch of the people in the neighborhood were BMXers, skaters, and so they thought it was cool, but it wasn't like they really cared that much. They didn't want one or anything. They were just like, oh, that's nice. And for no reason, while this kid is showing it to them, he's like, yeah, I know you guys are jealous, but your parents just don't work as hard as mine, so they don't have money, and that's why you can't get one. And I don't trust you guys to use it, because I think poor people like to break nice things. And everyone was just like, bro, what are you talking about? No one's even asked to be on it, and even then, why are you just saying that none of us can afford it? Let's put it this way, buddy. If your parents have a lot of money, and you live in the same neighborhood as these people, chances are these people's parents also have money. I just don't think they necessarily wanted a hoverboard, and if they did, they wouldn't be rolling around like, yeah, that's right, don't steal this, baby, it's awesome, I know you're jealous. But whatever, that was his attitude. And after a couple weeks of no one really caring about stuff he was flexing, he decided to up the ante. I don't know if it was just because he wanted attention from everyone or what, but he starts talking about how he would take his mom's car when she would work late. I guess she would have a carpool situation where she would leave to go to work, but her car would still be home. He was taking her car, going to the drive-thru and getting milkshakes late at night, and his mom apparently knew about it and was cool with it because she thought that he was responsible and mature enough to drive. Not 16, by the way, about 14 years old, which, listen, I don't care how quote-unquote mature you think your kid is. There's no reason for them to be driving alone late at night through the city to go get a milkshake. What are you talking about? You live on a farm, you're driving a truck to pick up hay or something when you're 14, I guess that makes more sense. But I feel like it's a really bad idea to have a kid driving on public roads. And so everyone is kind of like, dude, your mom lets you drive? Saying it in a way of I don't think that's a good idea. This sounds like a bad idea. And he goes off about his mom is just so much cooler than their parents, and their parents are lame and don't actually want them to be mature grown-ups. And I don't necessarily think it has anything to do with their parents not wanting them to be mature grown-ups. It's just their parents actually care about them and are like, you don't need to be driving a car when you're 14 years old alone at night. Anyways, he just kept flexing it how he would steal the car all the time, and he asked if anyone wanted to go with him next time he took the car to go get milkshakes. And obviously, everyone was really apprehensive, and the person who sent this in to me was like, no, absolutely not, which is the smart decision. Definitely don't get into a car with someone that doesn't have their license. That just seems like a horrible idea. In fact, I would be a little wary of people that do have their license. There's a reason there's so many car accidents, okay? There's a lot of dumb people driving cars in America. America always be a little bit more like, when someone says they're willing to drive, but especially in this situation. But there were a couple kids in the neighborhood who were, adventurous probably isn't the right word, we'll go with stupid, who were a little more stupid than everybody else. And they decided that they were going to go along with him to the drive-thru and get these milkshakes. And so that night, the guy says that they're going to take the car and go get milkshakes, and everyone's going to sneak out, blah, 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 blah. And the subscriber is like, all right, you guys have fun with that. I'm not going to go. And they are relentlessly making fun of him, saying that he's a wimp, he's afraid of his parents, blah, blah, blah. Which, listen, I don't think there's anything necessarily horrible about being a little bit afraid of what your parents will do if you get caught in a stolen car late at night. But anyways, a bunch of the kids sneak out, they get in the car, and this spoiled, entitled kid who apparently has permission to be driving the car starts driving to the drive-thru. And listen, I don't know if he had actually done it before or what. I don't know if this was actually something he did on the regular, but either way, him wanting to be a show-off, the subscriber heard about this later from everyone that was in the car, started like asking everybody if they wanted to see something cool. And obviously the people in the car were like, yes, I would like to see something cool. And he started being a show-off, which, listen, he already probably was a horrible driver. No experience, probably can barely reach the pedals, and here he is asking if they want to see something cool before showing off while driving. This is just going to end bad. I don't know why people want to show off in cars, because here's the reality of it, alright? I know a lot of people don't look at it this way. A car is just a giant metal death trap that weighs like a ton, and we're just hurtling across the earth at 60 miles per hour, and the only thing preventing us from becoming a pancake is just the other people around us and like our choices. It's not really something you want to goof off with and be like, oh, I'm going to show him off, but whatever. He starts deciding that he's going to try to drift. Keep in mind, this guy has no clue what he's doing. He does not have his license. This is probably the first time he's ever driven the car. But he starts, like, going fast up to this corner. And at this point, everyone in the car starts yelling at him, stop, stop, don't do this, please don't do this, bro, stop, it's not funny. Because they're like, okay, this is not going to end well. He's trying to show off and he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, he takes that chance to be like, guys, I do this all the time, don't worry about it. Yeah, apparently he's just got that Tokyo Drift lifestyle. On a daily basis, he is consistently just tearing up the track by drifting. But whatever, he comes into this corner and he comes in way too fast and he yanks the wheel way too hard and the car just starts turning sideways. Not in a drift way, but in a like out of control sideways skid way. And everyone in the car is yelling, they're like, oh my god, what did you do? You're such an idiot. Because here they are just sliding across the road. Thankfully, it's late enough at night that there's no one else on the road. Like, seriously, such a lucky situation. But they end up hitting the curb, going up onto the curb, and then the back left door smacks into a light pole that had been, like, you know how it's situated on the curb on the corner. And immediately the car stops, the guy turns the engine off, and he's like, what just happened? And everybody in the car that wasn't driving starts yelling at him, saying he's an idiot, what's wrong with you? And everyone's okay, like everyone's shaken up, the airbags had gone off, but everyone's okay. And so they get out of the car and they're looking at it, and the car's in really bad shape. Everyone's fine, thank goodness, they're insanely lucky. Like, this is a stupid situation, very preventable. This is why you don't steal your parents' car, and if you're gonna steal your parents' car, you don't try to show off to people if you don't know how to drive, bro. Even if you do know how to drive, don't do it. Either way, everyone's looking at the car and it's messed up, and the spoiled kid just starts freaking out. Understandably, he just crashed his mom's car, and he's like, my mom's gonna kill me, my mom's gonna kill me, my mom's gonna kill me. And everyone is like, yeah, you're gonna be in trouble, but they're wondering why he's so nervous because apparently she knows he's driving the car, right? Which she was gonna be mad that he crashed it, but you would think that he wouldn't be as nervous. Because, like, I don't know, if you're letting your 14-year-old kid drive your car around, you just kind of have to come to terms with the fact that he might crash it. Like, it's a possibility. If you think that your kid's going to be an incredible driver and never get into an accident, you're kind of dumb, bro. I don't know what the statistics are, but I'm sure, like, even most 16-year-olds get into a fender bender within their first year of driving. Yeah, your kid who's dumber is definitely not gonna have a great time, but that's when he reveals to everyone that, he might have exaggerated a little bit how much his mom knew about the situation, and everyone is like, what do you mean you exaggerated a little bit? And he says that she actually has no clue that he takes her car sometimes, and she would be pissed, and like the only reason he's been able to do it is because she works late, so she's not around to keep an eye on it. And now everyone who's in the car is pissed because they're like, hold on, you're telling me that we've been riding around in a stolen car all night. On top of it, you said that your mom knows about it, she doesn't, and now you've crashed it and we're all here. And that's why you're freaking out, is because your mom's gonna realize that not only have you been stealing her car, but you've totaled it. And the guy's like, yeah, you guys need to help me out. We need to come up with a story. And everyone who's with him is like, no, I'm not helping you come up with a story. I'm going to tell your mom everything, because they're not gonna get blamed for this. Are you kidding me? Plus, with the way that this kid is acting, you know that if they help him, quote unquote, come up with a story, he's just gonna end up blaming them for it, saying they made him steal the car and whatnot. And so they say that they're going to tell his mom, and he's like, you guys can't do that, you're going to get me in trouble. And they're just like, yeah, bro, I know you're going to get in trouble, but I don't really know what you would like us to do. There's no way we're going to be able to come up with a story that people are going to believe as to how the car got totaled, because how do we have it? Who stole it? Like, someone's got to take the rap for it. And he says, well, it's not going to be him. Which, listen, man, if you were the one who stole your mom's car, you didn't tell anyone you're stealing it, they all think that this is legit, then yes, you're gonna be the person who takes the fall, especially if you did it. Like, he just expects someone to say that they stole someone's car for him when he's the idiot that decided to do all this. And listen, no one should have gone with him. Like, the subscriber's the smartest guy in the story for hearing about this secondhand, but I definitely would just not recommend getting in a car that someone dumb is driving. But especially in this situation, yes, you should take the blame, considering this was 100% your idea. And as they're standing there, a car drives by and they pull over and make sure they're okay, and they say they're gonna call someone. And at that point, everybody that isn't the kid who's took the car decides that they're getting out of there. They start walking home because they're not that far, and they leave him to take care of it. And as they're leaving, he's like, where are you guys going? This is unfair. And they're like, look, dude, you've got to deal with this. So after that, no one's really sure exactly what goes down, but someone called his mom, because what they do know is the next morning, the car was gone from where it had crashed, probably towed away. And there was a sign on his door saying that none of the neighborhood kids could knock because he was not going to be allowed outside until he graduates high school, which was probably more of an angry letter than a reality. I don't think she's actually going to keep him inside forever. That being said, I could understand why his mom is pissed, bro. Imagine getting that call. You're at work doing your thing. You carpooled to try to save some money. You get a call. Hey, ma'am, your son, who's too young to drive, has totaled your car. Can you please come pick him up? You're like, he did what? He didn't really hang out with a lot of people after that. He would try, but it was always awkward. And whenever anyone would bring up the fact that he crashed his mom's car, he would get really defensive. Which, listen, I understand that you probably don't want to hear about it. But yeah, the people who were in the car you stole and crashed are probably not going to let you live that one down, bro. You basically made them an accessory to a crime that they didn't know was happening. As for the car itself, it did end up getting totaled, or they sold it. I mean, it was never in the driveway again, but just based on how it looked when it was crashed, probably ended up getting totaled. I would definitely not recommend totaling your parents' car. If he did end up getting grounded forever, it's not like you could really blame the parents, bro, because not only did they have to go buy a new car because of you, but on top of it, you stole the car and had a bunch of other people there with you too. You couldn't have just gone and done something stupid alone. You had to get the entire neighborhood involved. Super swag. Either way, I thought the story was just absolutely insane. I would not recommend stealing your parents' car ever, but if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to press the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments section down below. I know this one's shorter than what we've been doing recently, but I just thought it was a good one. So like I said, if you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe. If you don't know what to comment, go ahead and comment the word Geico down below, because let's just hope that this guy had some good insurance. You know what I'm saying? The insurance probably isn't going to help when they mention that it was stolen by their son, though. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like these, but you would rather listen to the audio, I post the audio on Spotify. Feel free to check that out, link down below. And there's also a link in the description to a playlist I made here on YouTube of some of my favorite story times of the year. So if you're doing your chores, need something to listen to, go for it. And yeah, on that note, guys, that'll really do it for the video. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.
What's croppin', farmers, and what's poppin', boys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And if you are, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam. Your douchey rich cousin will find a way to ruin your day like he did to me yesterday. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pass the vibe check. Anyways, guys, what's going on? A couple months ago, I told a story about how my douchey rich cousin basically ruined Christmas, and that's still valid for sure. He's just on a a streak this year of just ruining holidays, I guess. Cause yesterday he somehow managed to ruin my Easter even though I wasn't even with the dude. I'm supposed to be quarantined away from everybody, and he still managed to find a way to ruin a holiday. So good for him, man. He's really on a streak. Regardless though, my cousin is from a douchey rich family. He's never been told no in his life. He has a massive problem hearing anything other than yes. Like one time our other little cousins got iPods and he ended up stealing from them on Christmas. He's just not a very good person. And because his parents have never told him no, his sense of entitlement has never gone anywhere. And he's like around the same age I am. He's a whole adult now. And being a spoiled brat stops being cute after, like, I don't know, when you learn how to talk. Once you can learn how to talk and can say stupid stuff, being a spoiled brat is not cute. And he's gone well past that stage, all right? Everything out of his mouth might sound terrible, but he's still talking. And usually on Easter, we get together with the extended family at my grandma's house, and she does this really cool Easter egg hunt where all the little cousins get to run around and get candy, and it's a good time. And usually she gives the older kids some money. It's like not a lot usually. I think last year she gave every kid over the age of 14 like $10, but it's super sweet and my grandma has a big heart. It's not any reason anybody goes to Easter. Like nobody's ever super hyped to wake up in the morning at 8 a.m. and go to grandma's for $10, but it makes her feel better to give it to us and the family has a great time and it like, you know, it's just something that happens at Easter. Except this year, my grandma, who's an old lady, really can't be around people because this coronavirus is going around the planet taking out boomers like a Clorox wet wipe. So I do live near my grandma that I usually spend Easter with. She's like 2 blocks away. I haven't seen her in a few weeks. I did teach her how to FaceTime a little bit so I can like check up on her, but I haven't wanted to go see her because I've been sick and the last thing I want to do is be responsible for giving grandma corona, right? I didn't know what I had, so better not risk it. You don't want to be the dude at the funeral who's like, okay, I might have accidentally been responsible here, but let's just bond. It's not going to work out very well. But regardless, I kind of live near her, and I get a call at like 1 p.m. yesterday, and it's my grandma. And I answer it, I'm like, hey, and she says, hi, will you come here? Your cousin's here, and he won't leave. He says that I owe him his Easter money, but I don't have any, and he won't leave. He's standing at the door. He's trying to get in. Like, he's in the backyard now checking all the windows. Can you come get him to leave? And I was in like the middle of a nap, so I sleepily respond like, wait, sure. So I go over to my grandma's house not really knowing what to expect to find. It's not every day you get woken up from a nap from your grandma in quarantine saying that your cousin is trying to break into the house for $10. But hey, I had nothing else going on Easter, and it's supposed to be about family or whatever, so I guess I gotta go stop a grandma break-in, because some people just never learn not to rob your grandma, I guess. I didn't realize that was a life lesson that my cousin needed to learn. So I like walk down there. Like I said, it's like 2 blocks. I get over there, and sure enough, my cousin is banging on the door saying, let me in, I want to see you. And I walk up, I'm like, dude, what is going on? And he basically says, oh, hey, Ryan, you know how we usually get money for Easter? And I'm like, yeah. And he says, well, since no one's coming over for Easter, I just figured that she would give me what everybody normally gets. And I'm like, what makes you think that? Easter is canceled, so you get everyone's money? That's just the default? And he's like, yeah, but now she won't let me in to get it. She says she doesn't have the money, but I know she has it in there. So I guess I can understand the confusion, but I tell him, look, you're scaring grandma. Can you please relax and not try to break into her house? And he's like, well, you know, it is my God-given right to get that Easter money. I'm like, yeah, not really. That's not how Easter money works. Most people don't get any Easter money. In fact, most people, once they get too old to look for Easter eggs, don't get anything. So how about you chill? And he's like, well, I mean, you usually get it too. I'm willing to split it with you. As if, you know, he's just going to blackmail me. All of a sudden, I'm going to come up and be like, whoa, 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 you're going to split this money with me. In that case, and like pull out a crowbar and start trying to break into my grandma's house. Shockingly, I don't need the $10 that my grandma gives me for Easter, like badly enough to break into her house. Is it nice? Sure. Will it pay for Taco Bell? Sure. Am I going to terrify my grandmother by making her think her home's being invaded? Nah. All right, that might be where I'm drawing the line personally, but I guess that's just my personal morals, and the rest of my family doesn't care at all because when I said no, he went, well, I'm getting in either way, so you might as well just go home. And I'm like, dog, I'm not gonna let you break into grandma's house. So he goes back to like banging on the door, and the door comes open and the screen door is locked. And my grandma's sitting there, she's like, you need to go home. I don't have any money for you. And he starts screaming at her about how she's the worst grandma ever and all he wants is his Easter money. And she's like saying really mean things. And I'm not a fan of people being mean to my grandma. So like I go up to him and I grab him from behind. I put my arms under his shoulder and I like try to pull him backwards away from the door, kind of more towards the driveway. And I guess at this point, he'd worked up his adrenaline from trying to break into his own grandma's house, because what happens next is my cousin pulls a 180 as if he's a skater going down a stair set and like tries to swing on me. And here's the thing. Most of the family on this grandma's side is pretty short. Like, my dad's side of the family isn't super tall. My mom's side is tall. Like, that's where my height comes from. So my cousin, even though he's around the same age, doesn't really understand logic in the fact that he's like 5'4" and I'm 6'2", and we're kind of built the same, so this isn't gonna go well. So he turns around and tries to swing on me as if I'm the bad guy for trying to prevent him from breaking into my grandma's house. So here I am throwing fisticuffs with my cousin in front of my grandma's house while she's watching through the screen door, horrified because her grandkids are swinging on each other, and my cousin is screaming in my ear weird stuff about how like I wasn't a good cousin when I was little. Which, I mean, I guess true, but like, I don't understand how that's relevant when you're fighting me while trying to break into grandma's house. And I'm not really like trying to fight the kid. I'm not trying to swing on him. He's just kind of following me around the driveway while I like try to back up. And every time he gets close, I'll like push him away, but I don't want to fight him. And so my grandma is now outside of the screen door, like watching us, yelling, "Stop, stop, stop." And that's when my cousin just goes too far. Like I said, I haven't really been trying to fight him. All I've done is like push him and wrestle him a little bit. I don't want to fight my cousin. That's not fun. And then he turns around and he spits at my grandma, like towards her. And at this point, I'm like, dog, all right, I've been nice. You've tried to break in. You've done all this. Now you're spitting at her. She doesn't want you to get hurt. But at this point, listen, you're family. I'm allowed to beat you up. So I go up to him after he spits at my grandma and I tackle him and I hit him like once or twice. It's not a lot. It's enough to let him know that like, don't spit at grandma. And now he's crying. He's saying how I'm the worst and I'm a terrible person and he's gonna tell his mom and dad all about this. Like, yes, my uncle being mad at me, an adult, is really gonna hurt my feelings. I don't care. What? And also your dad's gonna call me and say, you hit my son, and when I say, yeah, well, he spit at your mom, he's gonna take your side? Probably because his parents are terrible, but that's another story. So whatever. He gets up and I walk over to my grandma to make sure he's okay, because he says, you know, he's crying, he's done, he's gonna tell his dad. Whatever, I only need to hit you twice anyways. I don't want to fight my cousin. So I walk over to my grandma to make sure she's okay, because I'm fine. I mean, it's not like it really hurt that bad. He hits like a girl. But as I'm talking to my grandma, making sure he's okay, I don't know if this kid crawled up on me like the last zombie of the round or what, but he's on the ground and he bites the shit out of my calf, like hard, really, really hard. So I like scream because I didn't expect a human teeth imprint on my calf because he bit me so hard. And I turn, and this is really bad. I kick him in the head because he scared me. He bit my ankle, so when I turned, I just kicked. I didn't know it was there. I wasn't taking chances. What if it would have been a tiger or something? I've seen Tiger King. Those things are ferocious. I'm not taking chances. And when I kick him, he gets up and he's like, "This is why I always hated you. Your family's so..." Just crying. I can't even understand what he's saying, but something along the lines of, my family's poor. That's why we suck. He's always hated me. That type of stuff, you know, as if it's my fault that this grown man just bit me on the calf and is now crying like a little baby over the fact that there was a consequence. I don't know what you expect to happen. Call me a scientist here. If you bite somebody on the calf, they might hit you back. Just saying. So he freaks out and decides that he's had enough because my grandma tells him to go home. So he like angrily runs like a girl over to his Mercedes and hops in and goes home. And I look at my grandma, I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah, you know, he just came over and he knocked on the door and I answered. I thought he just wanted to see me. So I was talking to him through the screen door and he says, 'Do you have my money?' And I didn't know what he was talking about. And then he said that he knows that I have the Easter money for everybody. So why don't I just give it to him?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, what'd you say?" She says no, and then once she said no, he started trying to like open the door and come inside, was checking every window, and that's when she called me. So I guess my cousin is just nuts. I don't even know why it's so important. Like, he drove off in a Mercedes. Clearly, I don't think you need the $20 that grandma was gonna give you. Yeah, so that's how my Easter went. Hopefully your guys was less eventful. My grandma is okay. I didn't touch her, by the way. I made sure of that. So, yeah, my Easter was very peaceful until my cousin left a bite print on my calf. It wasn't expecting how I expected to get anything on Easter, but, like, I didn't find any Easter eggs, so now I find a reason to go to the hospital and make sure that I don't have any, like, rabies or anything. I don't know what my cousin has in his mouth. Anyways, guys, hopefully you guys had a good Easter. I know this story's a little bit shorter. I just don't really want to stretch it. I fought my cousin. That's all you need to know. Before I forget, I did get a call later that day from my uncle where he yelled at me and basically said that I was wrong to beat up his son, but yeah, it really doesn't matter to me because, like, it doesn't matter if it's wrong, dude. You're my uncle. I really don't care. I don't. But yeah, on that note, guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Defend your grandmas. Make sure that your uncle doesn't try to sue you for getting bitten by his son, and you should be golden. If you enjoyed and you're new, I'd really appreciate you subscribing, pressing that notification button, and if you do, I shout somebody out every single day. Today's notification shout out goes to I'm a Bond. Big thank you for being a stud. And yeah, on that note, guys, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. Use code Scrubby at the G Fuel checkout. Follow me on Instagram at Scrubby, Twitter at Scrubby_69, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time with another video. I'm out. Peace.